order this meeting of the Committee on Finance to hear bills with respect to government procurement, amending Republic Act 9184, Government Procurement Reform Act, or the GPRA. We have bills on additional requirements for eligibility of bidder suppliers, Senate Bill 619 of Senator Tolentino, Senate Bill 1803, also of Senator Tolentino. Bills giving preference to domestic products, this is Senate Bill 590 of Senator Hontiveros. Bills improving transparency, efficiency, and sustainability. These are Senate Bills 556, 618, 2272 of Senators Cayetano and Tolentino. Bills on defense procurement, Senate Bill 692 by Senator Revilla. LG-related procurement, Senate Bill 1023, Senator Estrada. And bills for a comprehensive revision of RA 9184 by this representation. And that's it for today. Quite a number of bills. We'd like to acknowledge our resource persons before we turn it over to them. We have from the DBM, Attorney Ebron, Attorney Magtalas, Acting Director Baraan, Budget Specialist Evangelista. From the PSDBM, Director Dennis Santiago, Attorney Entreditio Kaong, Attorney Vera Cruz, Attorney Matibag, Attorney Camarao. From the GPPB, or the Government Procurement Policy Board, Executive Director Ruiz, Deputy Executive Director Guillermo, PITC, Attorney Gese, Attorney Reyes, OIC VP Alvarez. From the DND, ASEC Joselito Ramos. From the Judiciary, our basketball court admin Justice Raul Villanueva. Morning, sir. From the DepEd, Attorney Gerard Chan, USEC. Albert Alano, Administrative Officer, OIC Velicaria. From the DPWH, Department Specialist Gregorio Dizon, Department Specialist Mary Ann Glorioso. From the DOTR, Legislative Liaison Attorney Mark Malonzo. From the DOH, Director Gimbarda, Chief Health Officer Asuncion. From the UPLB Center for Strategic Planning and Policy Studies, Research Associate Collado, Project Assistant Malabrigo. From the DTI, OIC Chief Mary Ann Yulas of the Procurement Division. From the Philippine Pharma Procurement Incorporated, VP Riel. From the CIAP, Construction Industry Authority of the Philippines, Jovan Michael de la Rosa, Trade and Industry Development Specialist. Project Development Officer Engineer Alcance. From the Philippine Competition Commission, Policy Research Officer Ramon Sawit, Attorney Acampado, Legislative Researcher Jacob Flores. From the COA, State Auditor 5 Jose Isip, Attorney 5 Jennifer Alacon. From the Government's Commission for GOCCs or GCG, Attorney Omentad Jr., Attorney Narag, Chief Administrative Officer Pinote. From ESCA Engineering, Dr. Ernesto De Castro, CEO Jean-Jacqueline De Castro. That's all I have. Did I miss anyone, Comsec? Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this morning and lending your expertise and experience. There are a number of bills here, so I'm sure you'd like to study them in greater detail. But maybe initially, if you could give the committee just a bird's eye view of where we stand, because from personal experience, marami na po talagang usap na i-amend na natin dahil nahihirapan po yung mga ahensya, mabagal daw, and maybe some processes are repetitive and not responsive to the service or good being procured. So, but of course, we know that the Procurement Act was enacted 2002-03 by my father, ironically, no. So, but it was seen as a landmark reform and lauded worldwide because of its ability to curb corruption. Although, of course, you lose some efficiencies, I'm sure, in the process. So I think maybe now is the time to, after 2 decades, it's a good time to assess the law, its weaknesses, its strengths, and to keep the latter, the strengths, while also trying to respond to modern life and the demands by being more responsive to the needs of government, to the needs of our people. No? So those are the some of the things that I've heard. The Senate President mentioned that in other countries they're able to procure the AFP or their armed forces are able to procure second-hand fleets. So that's something I'd like to address specifically to Director Dennis and his team. Because I'm hearing different things na pwede, yung iba hindi daw pwede. So we need to amend it. Tapos yung repeat procurement, I've also been told pwede naman yun under our laws. But perhaps if it's the same thing being procured, then it can go through a facilitated procurement, especially if it's a yearly thing. And then the third is something that came up during our hearings on the Tatak Pinoy bills or Made in the Philippines bills, which is that I would like to acknowledge our committee vice chair, the chair of the Senate Committee on Basic Education and Ways and Means, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, also our vice chair in the committee. Morning, sir. The third is something that came up during our Tatak Pinoy bills, is the inability of small businesses, particularly small local businesses and small entrepreneurs, to participate in many of the government's bidding. So perhaps we could have a more graduated system of bidding where some of these, because the requirement apparently is the having participated in previous biddings and having supplied certain large contracts. But if you're a person starting out, then precisely it will be difficult for you to have these contracts, parang chicken or egg problem. No? So these are some of the concerns that perhaps we'd like to address among many, going forward. Senator Sherwin has been a former local chief executive, so alam niya siguro yung difficulties with the procurement reform. Sir, would you like to say anything before we turn it over to our resource persons? We have a number of bills on our agenda.
No opening statement, Mr. Chair. I'm here to listen.
Thank you very much, Senator Sherwin. So we'll turn it over. Maybe we'll give it first to the PSDBM or the DBM, and then the PSDBM, and then the GPPB, then the Judiciary, in that order. So can we acknowledge who will speak for the DBM? Kayo na ba, Director? Oh, sige, kayo na po. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We'll be presenting the proposed amendments in behalf of our Secretary Amena F. Pangandaman. The Senate Committee on Finance, chaired by the Honorable Senator Juan Edgardo Sani Angara, the Vice Chair, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, the members of the committee, good morning. I am Dennis Santiago from the Procurement Service, DBM. I am joined by Deputy Executive Director Maria Jonesha Guillermo from the Government Procurement Policy Board, and Director Angel Magtalas from the Department of Budget and Management. On behalf of the DBM Secretary, Amena F. Pangandaman, we will present the proposed amendments to the Republic Act 9184, the Government Procurement Reform Act, or the GPRA. Authored by the late Senate President Edgardo J. Angara and enacted on January 10, 2003, the GPRA was envisioned to address the lack of transparency and competition, eliminate collusion and political interference, and lessen delays in the procurement process. GPRA was one of the biggest acquisition and anti-corruption laws in the country, which was in fact recognized by no less than the World Bank as world-class legislation. However, there has already been a rapid transformation in technology over the past 2 decades, and the pandemic not only propelled the urgency for digital transactions in the country, but also brought to light inefficiencies in the law, especially in times of crisis. Indeed, PBBM is correct in his last SONA that we need to make government procurement more attuned to our changing times. We have also been hounded by controversies linked to the Philippine procurement system. As such, this reform has become necessary. Towards this end, we strongly support the amendments to the GPRA. We look forward to the enactment of a stronger GPRA adhering to international standards. We strongly recommend that the amendments introduce innovative procurement methods that are aligned with the assessment of public procurement system of the Philippines using the methodology for assessing procurement systems, or MAPS. This report was jointly conducted by the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank together with our Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office in 2021. It identifies the strengths and challenges of the procurement system and provides a set of recommendations to address these challenges, most of which have been included in this proposal. Given this, I am certain that the new law will be as monumental and world-class as its predecessor, while paving the way for the realization of the administration's transformative vision for the country and our agenda for prosperity. So allow me to present to the committee our recommendations for amendments to the GPRA. The existing procurement law is governed by the principles of transparency, competitiveness, streamlined procurement process, system of accountability, and public monitoring. Over time, the governing principles of procurement have evolved to adapt to new challenges, changing societal, economic, and environmental factors, advancement of technology, and innovations. To address these challenges, it is proposed that the new procurement law be governed by the following principles, which will also ensure our compliance with international standards. Principles of transparency, efficiency, competitiveness, proportionality, sustainable procurement process, participatory procurement, system of accountability, and professionalization of public procurement. These proposed amendments will also ensure a fit-for-purpose concept or appropriateness in the adoption of procurement modalities and address procurement challenges experienced on the ground. This means that we will no longer be limited to procuring the lowest bids as available. It will also be merit-based. The principle of transparency. Principle of transparency must be prioritized as transparency helps build trust, prevents corruption, and allows potential suppliers to compete fairly. In line with this principle, it is recommended that access to information be expanded to online platforms. Since the passage of RA 9184 in 2003, bid announcements transitioned from being confined only to print media to being accessible through digital means, including the websites of government agencies, the Philippine Government Electronic Procurement System, or PhilGEPS, and most recently, social media. This will also entail disclosure of information about procurement opportunities, contract awards, and the decision-making process. The provision on the disclosure of relations must also be strengthened through the declaration of beneficial ownerships. Also in line with transparency and our commitment to having an open government, equal access to information at all stages of the procurement process should be made available, with exception of those that involve national security, where disclosure of technical specifications or requirements must be kept classified. Towards efficiency, it must be noted that one of the main pain points in public procurement is the lack of proper planning. This has resulted in gross inefficiency caused by failed biddings and poorly crafted technical specifications or requirements. To bridge the gap, the following strategies in procurement planning may be considered. First, on market scoping by the procuring entity should be mandatory to get the right information on project costing, technical specifications, availability, delivery lead time, storage or warehousing, and all other procurement-related information. Next is procurement planning and budgeting linkage. Procuring entities shall ensure that funds are available for their project procurement. Meanwhile, the technical specifications for the procurement of goods shall be based on relevant characteristics, performance or functionality requirements, or product or service standards. Reference to brand names shall not be allowed except for reasons of technical compatibility, servicing, maintenance, or preservation of warranty. Also, procuring entities must be encouraged to undertake early procurement activities, even pending approval of the funding source, to effectively manage their procurement projects and minimize delays in project implementation due to failures of bidding. It is also recommended that they be allowed to engage a procurement agent if they lack the capacity or capability to undertake a particular procurement. Finally, the use of a framework agreement may be utilized to expand the pool of prospective bidders, take advantage of economies of scale, minimize the burden of conducting separate procurement activities, and generate time and money savings. The conduct of procurement through electronic bidding and the simplification of eligibility requirements will also help attain efficiency, as this would help streamline processes, reduce bureaucratic red tape, and ensure the efficient use of resources. We also advocate centralized procurement by the PSDBM in case the procuring entity does not have the capability or proficiency to undertake a particular procurement. In line with the government's bureaucratic efficiency and digital transformation agenda, it is important to leverage the adoption of digitalization and innovation to make public procurement more efficient and transparent. PhilJEPS, the single electronic portal that serves as the primary channel in the conduct of procurement activities by the government, should be expanded to include innovative features and solutions such as the electronic reverse auction, electronic marketplace, and electronic shopping, including electronic small value procurement. We must also expand the electronic marketplace to not just common use supplies, but also non-common use. We need to have a registration facility for suppliers who will meet legal, technical, and financial requirements. This will ensure the competitiveness of the market. On the principle of proportionality, the level of scrutiny and complexity in the procurement process should match the value and nature of the goods and services, infrastructure projects, and consultancy services being procured. This principle prevents red tape for low-value procurements while ensuring rigorous oversight for high-value contracts. New modalities must likewise be introduced aside from competitive bidding. That is competitive dialogue, unsolicited offer with bid matching, and direct acquisition. To address usual concerns around the lowest calculated responsive bid, we propose to adopt the most economically advantageous responsive bid. As long as the parameters of the other modalities are met, we can and should resort to them. We want to change the prevailing mindset among practitioners that competitive bidding is the only way to go. Towards our goal to secure a future-proof and sustainable economy, we are also pushing for sustainable procurement, which aims to minimize negative impacts on the environment, promote social responsibility, including gender equality, and support long-term economic sustainability. Moreover, green public procurement will gradually help the market to go green. With life cycle costing analysis, procuring entities can calculate the full cost of ownership, construction, operation, maintenance, and disposal of a procurement project. With life cycle assessment, they can evaluate the environmental impact of a project over its whole of life cycle. Following the issuance of Executive Order Number 31, institutionalizing the Philippine Open Government Partnership, the procurement process must also adhere to the principles of open government for increased transparency. Participatory procurement encourages stakeholders, including suppliers, civil society, and end users, to have a say in the procurement process. As such, it is strongly recommended that we have observers from a duly recognized private group in a relevant sector or discipline and a member of civil society organization. While the current law also requires observers from NGOs, we recommend that this be expanded to include members of civil society organizations. Under the system of accountability, professionalization means the procurement officials are well-trained, knowledgeable, and adhere to ethical standards. This will help ensure that procurement decisions are made based on competence and expertise rather than personal interests. Clearly, there is also a need to strengthen the institutional framework of the Government Procurement Policy Board and the Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office to align its organizational structure and staffing with the technical and administrative support needed to implement all the procurement reforms included in the bill. The composition of the GPPB itself also needs to be rationalized in order to ensure enhanced efficiency. While the GPRA is an exemplary law, our society has changed drastically since its enactment 20 years ago. As such, we must reflect the latest social and technological developments that we can use to meet the law's noble objectives, that is, enabling government agencies to utilize their budget efficiently while ensuring that we keep up with the times and international best practices. It is for these reasons that we are strongly pushing for amendments to our decades-old procurement law. As we all work hard to reinforce accountability and credibility in our procurement system, we urge our lawmakers to now take it to the next level and align with our digitalization and sustainability efforts so that we will remain on track with our agenda for prosperity, one where the government is trusted by the very people it has sworn to serve. If there are other questions or concerns, please know that we are available for consultation at any time, and we are 100% behind you for for the improvement of our public procurement system to become one that is truly inclusive, sustainable, reliable, and transparent. A procurement system that is world-class, a procurement system that we can proudly put at the heart of delivering public services. Thank you at magandang umaga po.
Salamat, Director. Any other resource person from DBM? Wala na. Okay, thank you, Director. Can we hear from Justice Villanueva? Anong experience po nila sa courts? Morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor, the chairperson of the Committee on Finance, the Honorable Sani Angara, and of course, good morning, Senator Win Gatchalian. I am Court Administrator Raul Villanueva from the Supreme Court. While I do not have a prepared statement, I hope you don't mind if I come here, not only representing our office, but also to share the experience as mentioned by our honorable chairperson with respect to the procurement of the items needed by the judiciary for its operations. I used to be, before becoming the court administrator, I used to be the chairperson of 3 bids and awards committees in the Supreme Court. One with respect to the committee on the bids and awards committee on infrastructure. Second, bids and awards committee with respect to the Office on Halls of Justice. And thirdly, with respect to the bids and awards committee on consultancy. In all of these committees, I submit that we encountered problems to efficiently procure the much needed items for our operations, especially for our trial courts. But of course, let me just mention that we welcome the move to amend RA 9184. There are really provisions that need to be more or less synchronized, especially and to keep it attuned with the times. For example, with respect to the threshold amount, wherein bidding is required when the amount of the procurement needed for a particular item exceeds 1 million. I think 1 million is a small amount already. It should be increased already, Your Honors. Second, with respect to negotiated procurement, most of the time it's limited to 50,000, Your Honors. It's very small. There is really a need to, in fact, we always go for bidding, public bidding, and yet we do not get the best quality actually out of that particular method that we are using right now. We save government funds, but we actually do not get the best quality that we need. So in the end, we sort of suffer because we continue to buy items that do not last long. For example, ball pens, and the like, small items, which are very simple but very useful for our operations in the meantime. Now that we're digitalizing, Your Honors, much of the equipment that we need are IT. And these are expensive in a way, and yet if we always resort to bidding, then we end up with the same problem that what we need now may be procured 1 or 2 years later, which become outmoded already. So the fact remains that being part of the third branch of government, Your Honors, we have to convey to you that we need a procurement law that would enable us to procure as much as we could within a 1-year period, because all government agencies are working within a 1-year time frame with respect to everything, with respect to procurement, the hiring of personnel, and even the putting up of facilities forming part of our capital outlay. So I hope that when the procurement law is amended, it will also take into consideration the timelines regarding the use of the budget. Also, Your Honors, with respect to, of course, the involvement of the Commission on Audit, we have no problem insofar as the role of the Commission on Audit is concerned. But in the procurement process, they are also included already as part of the system. For example, the submission of contracts. which is also the basis for some audit observation memos coming from them. To my mind, Your Honors, since they most of the time they do also post-audit, then this should be done during post-audit period, not during the procurement process as part of the procedure, Your Honors. Also, Your Honors, may I just mention that when it comes to big ticket items, especially construction of halls of justice, there should be a particular item in the procurement law regarding big ticket items, especially when it costs millions of pesos already, sometimes hundreds of millions or even billions of pesos, Your Honors. I think there should be a special provision on this one. We should not lump into one particular law everything about procurement. I think it's about time that we try to segmentize it in a way. We try to come up with some thresholds regarding these big ticket items, Your Honors. Also, Your Honors, regarding the centralized BAC, the Bids and Awards Committee, the law actually requires that there should be a centralized BAC. In the case of the judiciary, we have courts nationwide, trial courts nationwide, a total of more than 2,700, Your Honors. And to have a centralized BAC is difficult in order to respond to all the needs of all of these courts that are spread nationwide, in so many regions, in so many provinces, in so many cities and municipalities. So I hope that can be looked into, because now, in line with the strategic plan for judicial innovations, the Supreme Court is now looking at what we refer to as the establishment of the regional court managers. So if we will be having a regional court managers, we have to enable them to procure items at the regional level, at the very least. Otherwise, if everything is centralized, that regional court manager concept might encounter a lot of difficulties with respect to the procurement requirements, which we are now experiencing right now. We have what we refer to as the interim guidelines for the direct distribution of our MOE budget, which we are pilot testing. While we enjoy the benefits of allowing our courts to buy directly at their level some of the items that they need, Your Honors, but again, we have to deal with the liquidation of these particular funds, small funds, Your Honors, for your information, 90,000 only for certain courts, and yet they have to liquidate everything. I think if there is also one thing that the law should look into is the requirement regarding liquidation. I think it should be, we talk about ease in doing business, Your Honors. I hope that we can also have what we can consider as ease in the procurement process and in the liquidation of these funds, especially at the level of when it is decentralized, Your Honors. Further, Your Honors, I hope you don't mind me just mentioning that we go for the alternative modes of procurement. Indeed, while the most ideal is through public bidding, Your Honors, I think we should put equal treatment, because after bidding, everything becomes secondary. It's like all the other forms of procurement are second class. When it should not be the case, Your Honors. All should be treated the same way. When you go for public bidding, when you go for negotiation, direct transactions, Your Honors, to us, if we really want to make this work and we spend public funds as responsible as possible, Your Honors, we have to capacitate all agencies to be able to spend the money within that 1 year time frame, Your Honors. Otherwise, we will always have a problem insofar as procurement is concerned. Finally, Your Honor, while I completely agree that the no brand policy should be taken into consideration, however, I think it is now becoming more difficult to keep on couching, terms of reference, our bidding documents in general terms. I think branding should be allowed, without, of course, giving priority to this branch, but only by way of putting a standard, Your Honors. It should be considered a standard, nothing more, nothing less. I guess that's it. In the meantime, Your Honors, I'm very sorry if I'm saying things sometimes specific regarding the law. But I guess one more item, Your Honor, the Supreme Court is backing, is supporting actually a fiscal autonomy bill that was introduced by former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo in the House. And I think the Senate President, Mig Subiri, together with a number of senators are also expressing their interest, Your Honors, in this particular bill. This bill, aside from, of course, recognizing the fiscal autonomy of the Supreme Court, also proposes that it be the Supreme Court, the Judiciary, the third branch of government be allowed to also be empowered insofar as the procurement is concerned regarding the items needed for operations, that it should be relaxed, Your Honors. We are not asking, because I understand that there's one bill that says that the local government unit should be exempted from the procurement law, Your Honor. If that will be allowed, can we be allowed also to follow suit, Your Honor, if that is the case? But I guess that's it, Your Honor. Maraming salamat for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. For someone who didn't have a prepared speech, that was very informative. Justice, salamat. Thank you for the many points. Can we hear from the different agencies now? We'll go to the DND. ASEC Joselito Ramos. Morning, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Senator Win Gatchalian and the Chairperson of the Committee on Finance, Senator Sonny Angara. I'm Assistant Secretary Ramos of the Department of National Defense. Our experience on RA 9184, when it came out, we've seen that it has indeed improved systems and processes in procurement and ensured transparency and prevention of corruption. We've noted also remarks earlier, Mr. Chair, on the AP Modernization Program as regards procuring brand new versus second-hand, and also on the local small enterprise, the local industry, it can be potential defense industry. And we're happy to note that currently, not only the GPRA, but also the bills on SRDP and the AP Modernization Program are also being taken into consideration right now. The challenges, main challenges of the DNDAP in the implementation of 9184 is number one, on the transparency and competitiveness versus national security. And this was considered by the presentation earlier. We're sensitive, critical defense procurement, especially for the modernization program of the AFP, of highly classified nature are posted in PILGEPs. Also, we've noted that the same processes are being used in the acquisition of common supplies and major defense equipment. Just to stress the point, office supplies versus aircraft, naval vessels, cyber requirements, which impacts on timelines. And also, we see the difference in from being simple to complex procurement. Third is on the lowest price, which was discussed earlier also. And we try to address the challenges, Mr. Chair, through the GPPB. For one, when we requested for exemptions from GPPB for posting of highly classified details of the project, we were allowed. Also, we were also allowed through Section 53.8 to conduct acquisition through government to government using our Defense Cooperation Agreement, which helped us a lot during the acquisition of AFP requirements. We've noted also, and we are in fact recommending looking into, instead of just the lowest calculated bid, what we term as best value procurement, which I believe is also the same in principle as the most economically advantageous responsive bid as discussed by DBM earlier, wherein evaluation factors in addition to cost and price are considered in the selection of the firm or contractor and encompasses the total benefits that the government expects from the acquisition. Our biggest problem, if I may add, other than acquisition, is after acquisition is sustainment. We now have platforms and systems acquired to Horizon 1 and Horizon 2 of the AFP modernization, and we are right now focusing on sustaining these assets. And hence, we ask GPPB to allow us to implement what we call as performance-based logistics. And right now, the Air Force has been given permission for a pilot of the performance-based logistics to ensure sustainment of our assets. If we will have a good experience in this scheme, then we hope to also implement this to other projects of us.
Before we leave that, what does that mean, sustainment of certain maintenance or continuing purchases?
It's, yes, Mr. Chair. Sustainment refers to ensuring that assets and platforms that we have acquired we will be able to sustain it through its whole life cycle, meaning from acquisition up to its disposal. And that's one big challenge, especially for services like the Air Force and the Navy, that requires high maintenance funds to maintain these assets. And the current 9184 system doesn't allow us to maintain these assets as we intend it to be, meaning we want our air assets, naval assets, and ground assets to be operating 24/7. And so when they are scheduled and even definitely unscheduled maintenance, it impacts really on their operational readiness. So PBL and other related schemes like the lifetime support service scheme by the Navy that is being adopted will ensure a high operational readiness for our assets. Again, going back to the non-posting of select defense material procurement in field jets, which indeed we were allowed not to, but in other, this is only for AFP modernization projects, Mr. Chair. So we are also looking into other acquisition, such as critical sensitive acquisition related to supply inventory, like munitions, which might compromise our mission and plans because we expose our capabilities. And lastly, and this is the guidance of the Secretary, is bent on improving our systems and procedures in acquiring and procuring systems and assets, and also capacitating our procurement personnel, which was also taken up earlier during the presentation. The Secretary intends to have the authority to engage the services of international and foreign law firms, auditing firms, management consultants, ICT experts, and the like for furtherance of the provision of this act. That will be all, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, ASEC. Since you mentioned those issues, I just want to share one encounter I had with a agency chief, and he encountered problems with, as mentioned by Justice Raul, yung purchase of yung digitalization. I think you mentioned it also. Yung hindi nag-uusap yung sistema. Pag binili ng isang hepe, yung isa, tapos binago ng iba. So inabutan niya yun. Hindi, parang naging obsolete yung dalawang ano. Maybe we need to have special provisions for technology and interoperability of systems, because sometimes there's a lot of wasted money. There's just something to consider, no, going forward. Thank you, Sec. Can we hear from the DepEd, Yusek Gerard Chan? Yusek, morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. For the DepEd, actually, we just follow the provisions of 9184. We don't find much, we don't really find much problems with it. We've been following it. Currently, yung is the procurement of textbooks because we have volume 5. There is such a thing as volume 5, which tends to kind of make the procurement of textbook a bit slower because there is a process of vetting the manuscript before the actual printing. So that is the major challenge of DepEd when it comes to textbook procurement. But we have already a workaround to volume 5. But maybe down the road, we want to see kind of like an amendment to volume 5. That's the main challenge of DepEd, yung volume 5.
Volume na ganun, that's good for how many years?
It's there kasi because at some point in time, it was actually, volume 5 was actually crafted for DepEd purposes. But through the years in actual implementation, ayun, nakita yung parang, it tends to slow down the process. So parang we want to sort of do away na lang sana with volume 5 and just follow yung 9184.
Okay. DepEd procurement is centralized.
It's mixed. We have items na centralized. We also have items that we download to the region.
To the regions.
Yes.
How about the provinces, yung mga superintendents? Are they allowed to procure? No.
Yes,
They also.
Yeah,
So-
they are separate.
So what is the most granular or the most basic unit for bidding in
Sa
DepEd?
school level?
School level, okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Can we hear from DPWH? We have the legislative liaison, Dizon and Glorioso, who will speak for the
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and to everyone.
Director Gregorio. Okay.
I'm Maria Victoria Gregorio
morning.
from the DPWH. From DPWH, we do not have problem with the IRR of RA 9184. However, we do want to include the life cycle costs in the procurement planning and budgeting, likewise in the awards of contract. Likewise, we do propose
Sorry,
to
pakiulit yan. Hindi ko nakuha. Sorry.
inclusion of life cycle costs in the procurement planning and budgeting, and likewise in the award of contracts, sir. Similarly,
Anong ano yun? Can you concretize that in terms of DPWH project? Life cycle cost for goods?
life cycle costs,
yeah.
especially on the procurement of goods, heavy equipment, sir.
Okay, nakuha ko na.
Sir. And then also, sir, we propose to increase the threshold of the pre-bid conference, the conduct of pre-bid conference. Currently, the IRR requires pre-bid conference for an ABC of 1 million and above. So, considering our projects, it's more than 100 millions. It took time also, sir, for us, or it makes the procurement longer. So we do propose an increase in the threshold of the conduct of pre-bid conference. Then as to the applicability and coverage of suspension and blacklisting proceedings in alternative modes of procurement, in the IRR of RA 9184, blacklisting is only applicable for the competitive bidding. So we do want to extend it to alternative mode of procurement. That's all, sir.
Salamat, Director. We have DOTR, Liaison Specialist, Attorney Malonzo.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, the Honorable Senator Sani Angara, and Honorable Senator Win Gatchalian. Good morning. And to our colleagues from the government, good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Department of Transportation, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the committee for this invitation to attend in this public hearing regarding the proposed amendments on our Republic Act 9184. Mr. Chair, we note that there are seven Senate bills being deliberated on by this committee. And of these seven Senate bills, the department has already submitted comments on four Senate bills, specifically Senate Bill 618, 619, 1023, 1803, through our letter dated May 17, 2023. If I may be allowed by the Honorable Chair, just want to read the preliminaries of our comments on the said bills. For Senate Bill 618, we find that a uniform and general system of warehousing as well as cloud-based inventory of procured items and goods to be used by all procuring entities can help streamline operations and optimize inventory control. We likewise manifest our general support for this bill, being that if implemented properly, all procured items and goods will be stored, monitored, and recorded efficiently and accurately. On Senate Bill 619, we agree in general with the proposed inclusion of Section 53 on negotiated procurement, requiring mandatory submission by suppliers and contractors of documents that prove their financial capacity. This may help ensure that the government will be negotiating with a legally, technically, and financially qualified bidder. On Senate Bill 1023, comparing the concerned provision of the local government code with RA 9184, it appears that the latter is more comprehensive, up-to-date, detailed, both in scope and application. With this, Mr. Chair, we opine that the provisions of RA 9184 and its IRR appear to be a set of more up-to-date and better suited measures which would satisfactorily cover procurement activities for infrastructure projects, goods, and consulting services pertaining to local government units. On a final note, Mr. Chair, with regard to Senate Bill 2466, we give our general support to the said bill that seeks to provide comprehensive review of our Republic Act 9184 in order for the new law to be at par with current developments and the current digitalization of our current times, Mr. Chair. And we endeavor, Mr. Chair, to submit our supplemental comments and consolidated comments with this committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. How long have you been in the department, attorney?
Going 4 months, Mr. Chair.
4 months. So you have experience with biddings in the DOTR?
Actually, not, Mr. Chair, but we actually invited the Procurement Management Service of the Department of Transportation for today's hearing. Unfortunately, they have a pre-scheduled meetings, Mr. Chair, but they actually sent us their answers to the guide questions provided by the committee. And we just like to raise, Mr. Chair, the sentiment of our Procurement Management Service, specifically on Section 35 in relation to Section 53, on negotiated bidding, Mr. Chair. There is need for, because currently there is a need for failure of bidding before we can proceed to negotiated bidding. But our PMS, Mr. Chair, is actually requesting if we could reconsider just requiring one failure of bidding before we could proceed already to the negotiated bidding. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Could you, maybe not today, but give us maybe a report on the challenges for bidding for DOTR projects? Because anyway, hindi ka naman tatamaan ito, but you've been one of the slowest agencies in terms of obligation and disbursement, no? Historically, at least since I've been chairing the committee. So I'm curious why, what are the difficulties? Baka kasama yung binanggit ko ninyo. But also, maybe it's technical, and so if we could ask your participation in the TWG, because malaking pangangailangan po ng bayan yung infrastructure for transport. Pero as you can see by the traffic situation and the state of our public transport, it hasn't progressed much in the last few decades, no? So sana ma-jumpstart natin yon. Maybe we can. That's why we invite you for a dialogue on that in the technical working group. I think Sama niyo na yung kaap sana kasi parang that's also maraming biddings to na mabagal. Ano no, yung mga airports, etc. So we can jumpstart those processes sana, attorney. No? Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, actually, according to our procurement management service, one of the challenges being encountered by the agency is actually lack of a working knowledge or know-how on specific requirements of the law, specifically on with regard to our end users, Mr. Chair. And that's why we are working with our end users, giving them trainings and seminars for them to improve also and to be at par with the quality of service that is needed to be provided by the department, Mr. Chair. That's all. Thank you.
Who is the longest serving DOTR official? Revolving door yan eh. There is no one who has been there for more than 3 administrations. Tama ho ba? Baka wala pang ang dalawa eh.
I think, Mr. Chair, one of which is the Undersecretary for Administration and Finance. I think she's the one,
Sino po yun? Si
Yusek Maria Lontok, Mr. Chair.
Ayal. Rontok has been there since Gloria's time. Okay. Pero siya lang. Pero for the other USECs, for a highly technical agency, no? So, my question to the body, thank you, Attorney Malondo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I invite you to join us in crafting the new law para if you have any technical or procedural concerns, they can be addressed. Address to the body, particularly USEC Santiago, Director Santiago. Do other countries allow privatization of bidding or government functions? If there's a lack of expertise in an agency, for instance, like as there is in DOTR, there's such a steep learning curve. Is it the best practice, or in other countries, as long as it's transparent, then you can see, diba? Kung as long as there's, I suppose, there are rules on conflict of interest, etc. Is that permitted? Oh?
Matter of fact, Mr. Chair, our IRR, 2016 IRR allows for that, but there's no rule yet. No, as regards the procurement agent, procurement agents can be government agencies or private sector, but there's no rule yet crafted for that
But
purpose.
there's
Mr.
no
Chair.
prohibition either.
No prohibition under RA 92084, Mr. Chair.
So it's your opinion that even in sans any amendment, we could still do it if we wanted to.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Okay.
But we have to craft out rules
More
to
specific
guide
rules,
it, Mr.
yeah.
Chair. Apo.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
DOH now. We have Director Gimbarda and Chief Health Program Officer Asuncion.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Your Honor. So for the Department of Health, we welcome the intention of the legislators to amend our existing law, the Republic Act 1984, or the Government Procurement Reform Act, considering that it has been in existence since 2003, being supplemented only by an implementing rules and regulation, which we believe has already exceeded its limit. Having said that, please allow us to share our experience in the implementation of the said law. So in our experience, there are advantages and disadvantages. For the advantage muna, so there is a provision under the law which allows the Department of Health to procure to United Nations, international agencies, which for specific and limited supplies of drugs and medicines, these partners enables the Department of Health to be able to bring these much needed commodities on time. For instance, Your Honor, we are procuring immunization vaccines for our population-based programs like polios, mumps, rubellas, and having them as our partners would really of great advantage to the Department of Health. Hence, our request for the inclusion of the same. Second, on the amendments of the contract during contract implementations, the law allows some flexibilities on changing the quantities, etc. Hence, our request also for the considerations of the same. Now, going to the disadvantage provisions of the existing law.
Just before you go to that point, yung last point nyo on qualitative, yung allowing a variance between the cost and the quality. Parang ganon. Is that what you're saying? I just want to understand it fully.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sige.
There is flexibility in terms of reducing the quantity. Because in the Department of Health, we normally predict a certain quantity of goods, let's say for medicines. Let's say there would be some reduction on the need in the future. Hence, to save on this expense, it would be of great advantage to us if we have that flexibility, Your Honor.
Why don't you have that flexibility? You're the one who sets the terms of the
Yes,
meeting, di ba?
yes. To be retained on the passage of the new law, Mr. Chair.
So you want to maintain that
Yes,
flexibility?
yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
And then now coming to the disadvantageous provisions, Your Honor. In our experience during health emergencies, there's a requirement for us to be fixed on the ABC and the technical specifications, which during the conduct of procurement itself, when there's no taker, because they're not comfortable with the specifications and the pricing, then that would result to a failure or cancellation of the bid. Hence, that would delay on the part of the DOH to be able to bring these essential commodities for us to respond to health emergencies. So if we can be given that flexibility under the new law to be able to negotiate, of course, we will not compromise the price and specifications, provided that it's advantageous to government, because we just want to be ensured that in responding to health crisis, we are equipped with the right equipment on time, Mr. Chair and Your Honor. And then
Let me turn that on its head now. What in the current law prevents you from doing that?
there is a provision under the current law, emergency procurement, that somehow eases the conduct of procurement. However, you are fixated on the contract amount, and once you have already laid down your specifications, you cannot just simply negotiate the same during the conduct of actual procurement, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. Hence, that would result to a cancellation of the procurement process that will require us again to go back to zero.
You're referring to a negotiated or a bidding?
Negotiated, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Emergency procurement during to address imminent dangers to life, property, etc.
Okay, thanks.
And then during contract implementations, we have also had experience of being fixed on what we had provided during the procurement process, meaning we cannot simply amend the specifications during the onset of the procurement process and the basis of the award. Hence, let's say if there's some minor adjustment as to the specifications, we have no resort but to cancel or terminate the contract, then go again to public bidding. Hence, that would also entail another time for us to respond to some urgent needs, no? So
You're speaking about quantities, not price. Quantities.
I'm speaking about specifications, Mr. Chair.
Specifications.
Yes, because
Could you give an example?
for instance, if we would be needing, let's say we procured syringes for, let's say, 2.5 ml, and then later on we would, on second or third deliveries, we would need a much higher capacity barrel for a syringe, Your Honor. Let's say 5 ml. Then we cannot just simply do that because it's a prohibition under the law. We will have to procure again and then terminate the contract, because that's how the current law works. Hence, that would entail delay on a part to respond to whatever the intention of these health commodities, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. So that's all for the Department of Health, Your Honor. We will be submitting our position paper comments within this week po.
Thank you.
So much.
There's the issue of medicines which ano ba tawag dyan? Expired sa warehouses ng DOH. How can that be helped by procurement, or is that a inventory management issue?
That's a management inventory management issue, Mr. Chair, because for my part,
It's not a case of over purchasing.
that can be a possible
Meaning
cause.
because you were inflexible and nanigurado kayo, bumili kayo ng marami. Pala, sumobra. Ganun ba yun? I don't know.
Okay. So that would be on the part of the program implementers, Your Honor. So they will have to do some plannings for them to make an assessment on the target populations. No, let's say if we're going to procure for particular medicine. So meron naman pong checking on the availability stocks on hand. However, Mr. Chair, there are really those instances when, as expected, mas maganda naman pong mangyari yun na mas lesser po yung nangangailangan ng ating drugs and medicines. Hence, resulting to some medicines expiring or going near expiration.
What is the current system for, is there a red flag system for alerting that there are medicines about to expire? Ganon? Meron bang ganon?
Mr. Chairperson, we're still working on that.
Wala, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And who can see the current inventory of medicines in the department?
Okay.
Do all like can Region 1 see what's in Region 12, for instance?
We have an office, the Supply Chain Management Services, Mr. Chair, that's still working on that direction.
Meron ba kayo? Kasi one of the proposed amendments of the bill of Senator Tolentino is to have a cloud-based warehousing. So meaning, when he says cloud-based, it's visible with the push of certain buttons. Nakikita mo na, di ba? Ito yung inventaryo natin. Pag hindi natin dinispose ito, masisira ito. That's one of the intentions, di ba? So, may ganyan ba sa DOH ngayon?
Currently, Mr. Chair, wala pa po. Pero that's the direction we're taking. Meron tayong consultations with some experts on warehousing, best practices, etc. And hopefully po, ma-achieve natin siya, Mr. Chair, Your Honors.
Okay, I think that's necessary. No?
Mr. Chair, just a comment.
Yeah, please. Anytime, Director.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much po. Regarding po dun sa, if ever, although this has been existing since 2017, the concept of a framework agreement, Mr. Chair, where we adopt the concept of indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity context in the procurement of goods, specifically those that are repetitively procured, such as medicines, common use supplies, and equipment. Say, for example, us in PSDPM, what we do is we do a framework agreement. We only order when we need it. So we time it when such that if there's already a trigger point when we have to order because our stocks are dwindling. So this is the time we order from the supplier, Mr. Chair. This is alongside context of an option
The
contract.
repurchase is facilitated.
That's right,
It's
Mr.
a
Chair.
facilitated process.
That's right, Mr.
Existing,
Chair.
that's existing.
Existing, Mr. Chair, provided by the government procurement policy.
Is it widely used by agencies? Parang, kasi yan yung reklamo ng ibang agency eh. Parang pag parehong transaction, parang they have to repeat the process. So parang hindi nila alam na may ganyang framework agreement.
Maaari po. Maaari pong...
In your estimation, how many agencies make use of that framework agreement?
I cannot...
You cannot say, you don't have a bird's eye view.
Wala po.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There is no mechanism within the DBM to monitor the procurement methods of agencies. Walang ganon. Parang walang bird's eye.
Mr. Chair, through the PhilJeps, the posting of the contracts or the posting of the invitations to bid, we already see that if either request for quotation or invitation to bid, either competitive bidding, smaller value procurement, depending on the threshold. We can see that through the PhilJeps, Mr. Chair.
And you also monitor the obligations and the disbursements, di ba? Ano yung sistema pagka mabagal ang ahensya? Tapos, is there a quarterly monitoring or anything like that?
It's more of, Mr. Chair, it's more of a transparency platform where they post their invitation to bid, post their awards, even the contracts, but not really in the sense of monitoring what was procured, how much, what was the savings. But it can be divined from the system, Mr. Chair. It can be analyzed through that.
Okay. Why do you think the existing law does not allow for those modifications as mentioned by Mr. Gimbarda. Why do you think? Is that a guide against, is that a good good governance mechanism, or that you're not allowed to modify it while you're procuring? Is
Mr.
that to prevent disadvantageous deals to the government?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
on three things po. First, we can modify anything prior to the time that we post our invitation to bid. Okay, because the invitation to bid is basically the call to make offers from the private sector and the market operators. So when you post the invitation to bid, dapat ready na po yung procuring entity to procure. That's why we have that stage in the procurement process we call the pre-procurement process. During the pre-proc, the agency will have to determine the readiness of the procuring entity to commence procurement. So they gather there, they speak, they talk, the end user, the BAC, the secretariat, they talk to each other and then determine the readiness of the procuring entity, including po the technical specs and the budgeting. So that's the first one when we can modify the requirement. Now, once we launch na po yung invitation to bid naman, pwede pa rin naman pong baguhin po yung technical specifications, technical specifications during pre-bid conferences when, let's say, bidders would say, ito pong 1 terabyte po na specs ng hard drive nyo masyadong malaki. Babakin natin sa 500 gigabytes. If everybody will, if everybody will agree, and then even the procuring entity would agree, they can change specifications po. Number two po, but the moment we open the bidding documents, okay, we can no longer modify the requirements. Why? Because the market operators look at the specifications when you made an announcement to make offer. So in fairness po to those, po. And then naman po, if the contract has already been awarded, this is a matter of contract implementation. So the supplier agreed to that requirements per your specifications provided in the technical specs. So ibig sabihin mo, market reacted on the specifications you made. So kung gagawin po natin, for example, yung po kanina, 2.5 magiging 5, it will be a variance po talaga doon sa contract. So the bidder may not be prepared to supply the 5 ml as opposed to the 2.5 ml na original specification. So contract issue rin po, Mr. Chair. And of course, again, fairness also to those who submitted bids. Kasi sabi natin nung una, 2.5 ml. Ngayon gagawin na natin 5 ml. So sasabihin ng bidder na hindi nakasali, sabihin niya, kaya ko yung 5 ml nun, dahil sinabi niya lang 5 ml. Parang ganun po. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director. Can you hear from the DTI, DOST? We have with us from the UPLB Center for Strategic Planning and Policy Studies, Research Associate Collado, Technical Assistant Malabrigo. Are you here? Are the people here? Yeah, please, sit down. Sit down. Upo kayo. Yeah. Ano po yung comments nila, ma'am, on what you see so far? Yeah, please speak in the mic. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. So in our records, the department has already submitted its comment last May 10, 2023. And we commit to submit our supplemental comments on the additional bills at the earliest tomorrow. So as for the recommendations of the department on the proposed changes or additional provision that will fit the agency's needs, may we refer to the first suggestion that the GPPB formulates special rules and procedures allowing government agencies to directly acquire specific items or services from government-assisted private businesses and our companies prioritizing MSE. Because in the case of DOST, we have the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program or SETUP, which is a national strategy to encourage and assist MSME to adopt technological innovations to improve their operations and thus boost their productivity and competitiveness. That's why we are suggesting that if the GPPB could allow us to directly purchase from this MSAU that the DOST is assisting. Also, for the Section 51 on the repeat order, we suggest, since currently repeat orders is only applied to competitive bidding, it would be better or ease procurement if it will be applied also to shopping or small value procurement. And if the allowed quantity will be increased from 25% to at least 50%. And it is also proposed that for the procurement of science, engineering, technology and research equipment and specialized supplies and materials worth 200,000 or less, it be exempted in the provision of RA 9184, at least be coursed through direct acquisition. This is, or the threshold of 200,000 may also be periodically revisited considering the market conditions and evolving technological landscapes. The prices of S&T equipment, supplies, and materials are likely to be affected by economic volatilities. Hence, any threshold amount set for such items will only be as good as the prevailing economic condition. So for the highly technical requirements or equipment for R&D, most of the equipment has higher value. So for the direct acquisition, siguro po kung pwedeng itaas yung value na exemption. Also for the negotiated procurement, specifically 53.6, we are recommending to include science and technology, engineering and research and development, equipment, specialized supplies, materials, and services. This is to expedite the research and development projects of the DOST, since for government-funded research, time is critical. And if we do not procure these materials and equipment, the target of the research will be greatly affected. Also, another suggestion, Mr. Chair, is if the time involved in the procurement process, particularly for those which undergo public bidding, be actually reduced, since, as mentioned earlier, for the government, for the DOST's grants in aid research project, the time to get the equipment and supplies is very critical. This impacts our budget utilization and target output. That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Maybe I'll ask Yusek for his comment. I'm not familiar with the bidding process. I've never been in the executive. I've never been a member of a PAC. Pero kung kinompleto mo yung proseso, how many months does it take? Yung from the longest possible process under, meaning the most comprehensive process, you may pre-bidding conference, tapos publication, notice, etc. What's that? Ilang buwan ho yan?
Mr. Chair, we have the Annex C under the 2016 revised IRR for goods procurement po. Short of 26 calendar days to procure, long of 136 po. So, pwede hong mag-procure as in less than a month.
In your considered opinion, can both of those be shortened without sacrificing
Mr. Chair,
quality or good governance?
but one of the primary concept of fairness to the market operators is for them to be able to prepare a responsive bid. So if you have a technical requirement or technical specification, you have to allow them to prepare also on how to be able to comply with those. So 26 calendar days, Mr. Chair, as a matter of fact, is very short already. Before the amendment in 2016, the number of days was 28. Short of 28, and then GPPB still reduced it to 26 because of the clamor to reduce the timeline. But that's how short possible as GPPB can go at that time. But and then also the 136 calendar days. Dito naman po for the more complex projects, ano po?
We should tackle, it should be a separate discussion for the short and the long kasi
Apo.
iba yung, and then yung sinabi ng resource persons natin, iba yung pinag-uusapan dyan di ba? Pagka complex projects, dun tayo sa long siguro.
Apo.
And we have more maybe checks and balances or safeguards along the way, more transparency also,
Yes, Mr.
more disclosure. The greater the possibility for collusion or corruption is there. Pero pag repurchase ho, pag repurchase of the same good, would the 26 also be the applicable period? 26 days?
Hindi po, Mr. Chair. As a matter of fact, kung repeat order, for example, repeat ordering right now is 25% of the previous procurement, 25% of the number. As a matter of fact, that can be done in a week or two if you want to do repeat order. But there are limitations po. Procurement must be
Is
done.
there a limitation on the number of repeat orders?
Wala po. As long as it is within the 6-month period. Apo. Tsaka yung 25% lang po.
Yeah, the
Of the
25% is the quantitative, ano. Pero yung number of repeat orders, is there yung may binanggit kayong 6 month?
Bali po
There is a
within the 6
number,
month.
a limited, how many what's the max number you can do in 6 months? Of
Siguro
repeat
po,
orders?
kasi mangyayari po yun, kung depende po kung ilan po yung na-procure nung umpisa through competitive bidding. So if it reaches 25% na repeat order, hindi na po pwedeng
So you
repeat
cannot
order.
split it up. That's to prevent splitting up of
That's
work.
right, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Justice.
May I just mention siguro yung this matter about yung splitting? Yung splitting, kasi it's not splitting if, for example, you buy the same item today and then you wait for 1 month, nagpas ng 1 month, then you can buy the same item, it's not splitting.
Right, right.
Ang sa akin is, I think there should be a little siguro,
Leeway.
leeway no, regarding it's not intended to try to go around the law.
Circumvent.
Kaya lang, can you imagine you have to wait? Ganun din naman, allow din naman pala. So baka naman either we shorten the period or I think we really have to come up with a better siguro a definition of what splitting is, na ang intention really is to make sure that what is needed can be procured the soonest possible time. Yun lang naman. Kasi if I may lang po, Your Honor.
I see your point there. I see your point, Justice. Pero yung question siguro, I want to create a dialogue para we see the pros and cons. Pero yung 25%, what was the reason for limiting it to 25? I'm just curious.
Mr. Chair,
Is that in the law or in the
Nasa
regulations?
batas po. Nasa batas po. Ang idea po before was that if you go more than 25%, you should have procured more of those quantities during the first bidding. Or if you go more than 25%, sinasabi, sana pinabid mo na lang ulit. Because we basically forfeit market opportunity to compete or to participate in the procurement process. Kasi and then also you mentioned, Mr. Chair, po yung splitting, hindi po ba? So parang nangyari, hindi mo lang biniling ganitong karami para ma-address perhaps kung ano man ang needs mo noon. But then, yung pala, kailangan mo pala ganitong kadami. Poor planning din po. So, kaya po nilimit ng Congress at that time na 25%, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you po.
Can we hear from DTI? We have OIC Chief Mary Ann Yulas of the Procurement Management Division. Go ahead, ma'am. Maureen.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Clear po ba, Marino? Thank you. Mr. Chair, with DTI Central Office alone, our challenges, we experience challenges, particularly for drafting of the technical specification and also yung proper procurement planning and timeline. But then again, these challenges were addressed through trainings and capacity buildings to the end users. And also, we have not identified any provisions in RA 9184 which have to be amended. And also, to add with Director Dennis, we use currently we are using the framework agreement in DTI for vehicle tires and batteries. And also, we are adopting the green procurement and also the life cost saving cycle, and also we are adopting the consolidation of non-PS items for one procurement alone. And we also we have also the delegation of authority to applicable mode of procurements to our regional offices for efficient and easy procurement. And also for the vendors to be
to be adept with DTI's procurement opportunities. We conduct vendors engagement and also capacity building for the end user. And also, we make sure that all the procurement staff have technical knowledge and know-how on the procurement process so that we can provide appropriate technical assistance to the end users. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Can we hear from Philippine Pharma Procurement, PPPI, VP Josefina Riel?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Senator Gatchalian. For Philippine Pharma Procurement,
Attorney De Los Santos, yes.
basically, PBPI serve
You're a
DOH.
private, just to clarify, I'm not familiar with your organization. Private ho kayo? Private.
We're a GOCC.
You're a GOCC under the DTI.
Yes, Your Honor. We serve DOH Central Office, DOH Retained Hospitals, DOH Regional Offices, local government units, and PBPI accredited barangay, butika ng barangay outlets, NGAs, and GOCCs. Before proceeding to the suggested or challenges that we face, we would like to make a preliminary statement that currently we
How
are,
much do you procure every year worth of medicines?
depends on the agency to agency
Yung
requirement.
total
Your
po,
Honor.
total procurement nyo.
200 million annually. Your Honor. It actually depends on our clients on how much.
Anything else aside from medicines?
Only medicines, Your
Only
Honor,
medicine.
although our mandate speaks of medicines and vaccines.
Medicines and vaccines. I'm just curious, the DOH does its own procurement also. So
Yes.
there's a GOCC that procures medicines and the DOH also procures medicines.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why do we have this dual system?
They download some items that are of lesser magnitude, while the bigger items remain with them. They have their own back, but they download some items to PPPI.
Okay, but why is that? Why did we do that?
Well, actually, Your Honor, right now, our main objective is to have a pooled procurement facility so that all requirements of government agencies will be procured from this from PPPI as mandated by Republic Act number 9252. No, Your Honor. It's the law that requires a full procurement for all medicine requirements of all government agencies and LGUs.
Okay,
There is currently a pending proposed bill in Congress for modernization of the PVPI
okay.
with emphasis on procurement facility, Your Honor, which is widely used in the world today.
To prevent spoilage.
Spoilage and economies of scale.
Okay. What's the law which created the PPPI, sir?
This was initially created by during the time of President Marcos under a presidential decree, and then subsequently it was converted into a GOCC during the time of President Arroyo. For the suggested amendments, Your Honor, we have 6 items on our proposals and suggestions. For number 1, difficulty of PPPI, our company now, is that the RA 9184 speaks of APP, Annual Procurement Program. Our company, our corporation, makes a project procurement management plan. Because the APP under 9184 does not, is in generic form and does not specify the quantity and quality of medicines to be procured, does not include generic medicines, etc. Number two, as earlier stated, under RA 9582, the law mandates a procurement facility so that we all consolidate all the requirements for medicines and vaccines of all government agencies. Number four, we are proposing that the license to operate and certificate of product registration be included in the technical requirements in the bidding process. Number five,
You mean to say hindi kasama yun?
I beg your pardon.
Yung license to operate, hindi kasama yun?
Hindi po eh.
Aha.
So we are
So
suggesting,
it seems so basic that it seems just common sense to include it. Oh.
that's true.
Even if it's not in the law, parang the supplementary rules of the agency should provide for that as well as the financial capability, capacity. Actually, I think common sense countries using common sense would require it already. As a matter of practice, but anyway,
The same is true. The same is true, Your Honor, with the domestic bidder certificate. The same is true with the domestic certificate, Your Honor. Domestic bidder certificate should be included in the requirement for the bidding process.
not familiar with that document. What is a domestic bidding certificate?
Mr. Chair, DOBID, it is called DOBID by DTI. This is for purposes of raising the preference to a local bidder supplying a product that is manufactured in the Philippines, of the make, manufacture, or substantially made from raw materials in the Philippines. So this will be determined po by DTI. So a bidder will apply with DTI to present its product, and then DTI will determine if indeed this is a domestically manufactured product. Then, pag may bidding po, may sumaling foreign entity, pag may sumaling bidder na ang kanyang produkto ay foreign product, yung local product po itatapat. No? Kung nanalo yung foreign product po na ito, yung pong local bidder na supplying a locally manufactured product can claim the domestic preference po. That's claiming to up to 15% po. If it's within that range, then they can be given the award of the contract, provided that they can match the bid of the lowest bidder po na foreign equipment or foreign good.
They match it? Parang, I'm just trying to get the sequencing right. Eh di ba sabay nagbibid yan?
Apo, tama po.
So dapat nandun na yung match. Hindi siya, it's not really a matching because dapat within the range siya. Diba? I mean, I'm thinking chronologically, di ba?
Apo.
Does the law allow him to actually change his bid? And let's say he's 20%. And said, kaya ko yung 15%. So dapat ako yan. Pwede ba yun?
Ang mangyayari po kasi, if there's like a bidder providing or supplying a foreign source goods, and then a local bidder supplying a domestically manufactured product. Pag nanalga, ang mangyayari po kasi is, i-qualify muna sila, titingnan muna yung kanilang financial offers. After that, they go to the post-qualification. And then if the LCRB or the lowest calculated responsive bidder is the foreign product or the supplier that provides the foreign product, so siya ho yung magiging lowest. Yung next lowest could be that supplier that provides a locally manufactured product. So, pero parehong bidding process din po yun. Yun lang, talo siya.
Sabay ang pasok ng
Sabay po.
sabay.
Sabay po.
hindi pagkatapos sasabihin. Kasi may konting unfairness yun sa...
Apo, sabay po
Parang-
pumapasok
Oo.
before they can claim domestic preference po.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. But the last one was the,
Pinapayagan naman ho eh. Pinapayagan naman ho yung DOBID eh. Pero what is your issue ho sa DOBID? Kasi that's in the law already eh. Oh.
yeah, it should be part of the bidding process already, together with the LTO and the registration paper. And for the full procurement, Your Honor, we are submitting a copy of our concept paper for the benefit of Your Honors.
Salamat. Thank you, Attorney. Can we hear from the CIAP, the Construction Industry Authority of the Philippines? We have Senior Trade and Industry Development Specialist Jovan De La Rosa and Project Development Officer Engineer Alcance.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning,
and
morning.
Honorable Senator Win Gatchalian, Senator Angara. So for SIAP, we have submitted our position on the previous Senate bills, no? And this is in support of the Filipino First policy. And we have likewise recommended the inclusion or the consideration of the constructor's performance evaluation system and the SIAP document 102 for the warehousing recommendations. And for this Senate Bill 2466, we would just like to point out that we would once again reiterate our recommendation to consider the CPES ratings as a part of the eligibility criteria or eligibility requirements. So CPES, or the Constructor's Performance Evaluation System, considers these criteria of workmanship, materials, time, resource deployment, environment, safety and health, and facilities. So it's a more comprehensive system, no, that can give us a picture of the constructor's performance. And these ratings are likewise posted on the GPPB website for the reference of other procuring entities. And also we would also reserve to submit our supplemental position on the new bills pending the consolidation of the inputs of our other implementing boards and industry stakeholders. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Salamat. Thank you to CIAP, Mr. De La Rosa. We hear from the Philippine Competition Commission. We have Research Officer Ramon Sawit and Attorney Acampado and Researcher Jacob Flores.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Senator Win. The Commission supports the objectives of the measure and look forward to participating in the technical working group. The objectives of the improved planning, transparency, responsiveness to climate realities, and a more level playing field amongst firms can bring better efficiency in government spending and provide opportunities for smaller firms to grow. If realized, this would uplift the lives of our countrymen. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, for the specific inputs, actually, we follow closely the procurement law, and since we're comparatively a smaller agency, it's not as dramatically difficult for us. We do want to put some inputs on providing spaces for smaller firms to participate so that they can also have the opportunity to tap the government procurement market. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm happy you said that because yun ang problema, yun ang nireklamo nga ng mga small businessmen eh. There are barriers to entry which are maybe unintended in our laws. So maybe you could help us there. Thank you. COA, we have State Auditor 5, Jose Dennis Isip, and Attorney 5, Jennifer Papio Alacon.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Morning,
Senator Angara.
Morning ho.
Good morning, Senator Gatchalian. I apologize for not being able to present the consolidated comments of the Commission on Audit. I am the resident auditor of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, under which the Modernization program is a part of. Be that as it may, we subscribe to the concerns raised by ASEC Joselito Ramos, more specifically on the posting of the details of the items to be procured. My understanding is that the consolidated comments of the COA have already been submitted. And much as I would want to be of help, my duties are confined with the armed forces. I believe my other colleagues who are in a better position to discuss it.
No
are not
problem, no
present
problem,
at this time.
Auditor. Ano lang, baka pwedeng itimbre kay Chairperson Liel because he's been in the government a long time, so I'm sure he's a lot of insights on bidding, especially when he was from his days sa NTC. Baka meron siya kasi you've submitted comments but on the previous bills which are piecemeal revisions of the code. But this the newest filing is actually a revamp or a whole new and hopefully improved procurement law. So if we would appreciate it very much if the COA could weigh in and perhaps yung experience ninyo and yung mga common violations without naming personalities for hindi naman yan yung ano natin dito because you have a very particular role in that. But sa amin it's an institutionalization of the best practices that we're after. And kung saan nagkakaproblema yung mga ahensya, I think you would have or your agency would have a very unique view on this, Auditor. No? So pakiabot na lang po sa ating butihing Chairperson.
We'll do that, sir. Thank you.
Salamat po. Now from the Government's Commission for GOCCs or GCG, we have Attorney Raimundo Aumentado, Attorney Aurel Narag, and Chief Administrative Officer Christian Pinote. Morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair. The GCG supports the proposed bills which seek to strengthen and enhance government procurement to create a more agile, transparent, competitive, accountable, and efficient government procurement system. With your indulgence, Mr. Chair, we will be submitting our official position paper on the proposed bills. In the meantime, the Division Chief of our Procurement Division will discuss the experience of GCG in procurement.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Senator Gatchalian. On the part of the GCG, in general, we don't really have a problem with regards to the current procurement law, including its 2016 revised IRR. However, one of our experience, we're having difficulties in procuring our parking spaces, considering that our office is located in the business district of the city of Makati. So when our end user is having a market scan, most of the service providers who are leasing the parking space are not PhilJobs registered. So when we ask them bakit hindi sila PhilJobs registered, they're saying that there's no need for them to register in PhilJobs kasi wala naman silang problema na makakuha ng mga lessees sa kanilang parking space. So if we can suggest that if we can have a mechanism wherein we can dispense with PhilJobs that the service provider or supplier is the registration of PhilJobs, the requirement for PhilJobs registration in exceptional circumstances. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
That's a very unique problem. What do you say, Director Santiago? I guess not everyone wants to register with PhilJobs because sometimes it's a seller's market. So that.
I will give the floor to Attorney Majo, the Deputy Executive Director from CPPBT as well, Mr. Chair.
Attorney.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Of course, to our Vice Chair, Senator Win Gatchalian. In response to our good colleague po, just to inform po na when it comes now to relaxation as the requirements of the PhilJobs, this is not something that is really feasible at this stage particularly because we have that already mandated in law. And the purpose for which the PhilJEP certificate has been issued or provided is to make sure lang po na when they are contracting with government, they're able to identify po kung ano po yung simpler po kasi siya. It would already give us an idea on the legal requirements if they have valid po
That's
yung
a legal
kanilang
answer.
registration.
Attorney.
Yes,
That's
yes.
a very legal answer.
Correct,
Pero
sir.
there's a very practical problem here.
But of course, sir, when it
What do we do? There's a person who does not have a parking slot. If he cannot park, he cannot do his job. So, what is beyond the law? What is the remedy?
beyond the law, Mr. Chair, of course, we needed also to consider now if the nature of our implementing rules is of general application. If it's really peculiar to them, we could support them in so far as determining po ano po kaya yung mga gaps and issues that they have. And maybe we can also help them and guide them to make sure lang po that they are also properly guided po in so far as the use or procuring po yung kanilang parking spaces. Because we have naman po yung negotiated procurement in so far as po yung sa lease of venue. But of course, there are things that they can really come to us, provide us po yung kanilang challenges and gaps, and then we can sit down po and really determine po kung how we could address.
So, bago siya mag-park, dadaan muna siya ng dadaan muna siya ng GPPB. Bago siya pumarada doon, teka, daan muna ako ng GPPB ha. Kung ako na exemption sa PhilJEPs.
Of course, sir, it's, as far as the requirement po ng PhilJEPs, I think it outweighs po kasi yung requirement din po na yung balancing po. Yes.
I think it's a very real life problem. I think the test of our laws is how they respond to real life problems, di ba?
Just to add po, yung pong
I see the rationalization, di ba? If everyone asks, if you allow an exception in one case, then the whole world might ask for that exception. I understand that. Pero beyond that, what can we do?
Of course, Mr. Chair, hindi naman po yung example is to procure, but so to buy the real property, parang parking space. Meron pong ganung government agencies that they buy instead. But RA 9184 will not be used there. It's another law.
Wala bang ganung usufruct? You cannot purchase a usufruct. Or a lease?
Pwede po. Pwede naman po. Pero actually, lease po pwede, Mr. Chair.
Legally pwede.
I think the challenge is yung nga pong PhilJEPs. Pero ang requirement lang naman po is PhilJEPs registration number. Hindi po yung PhilJEPs certificate of registration and membership that the parking owner...
Can PhilJEPs not go to that parking guy and say, oh, ito, ano mo lang, lagay ka ng fingerprint or
actually, sir,
pakita ka na ng ID mo tapos rehistro ka na.
Actually, sir, ano naman po, tinutulungan naman po ng PhilJEPs even to secure that number. There are situations po, kahit kunyari, consultant po, wala siyang number. They go to the PhilJEPs, just kasi online registration lang naman po yun, Mr. Chair. We can perhaps guide the property owner also.
Oh, okay na. Oh. Mahirap pa rin.
Mr. Chair, we just
Ayaw pa rin mag-reach nung
It's just a suggestion, Mr. Chair. In-incorporate na rin na lang namin yung parking namin sa list ng extension office.
Ayun. Ayun naman pala eh. So planning din yun. Pasok din sa planning sa sinasabi nila. All right, thank you. GCG. I just curious. What is the extent of your because you have supervision over GOCCs. What is the extent of your supervision over their or monitoring of their I know you monitor their bonuses, things like that, no? And their compliance with the GCG law. But what is the extent of monitoring over procurement and budget spending, etc.? Anybody from GCG can answer.
Mr. Chair, with respect to procurement activities of GCG, I'm not sure if we also monitor those unless those are part of the mandate of the GOCCs, Mr. Chair.
So they're basically autonomous with respect to their budgets. Yes? Please respond. So
yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Can we hear from this is from the private sector now? We invited a number of resource persons, but SK Engineering was the only one who responded. SK Engineering, I think in future hearings we should invite more from the private sector to share their experiences and on how to improve, ideas on how to improve. SK Engineering, Dr. Ernesto De Castro, Jean-Jacqueline Nathania De Castro. But before I recognize them, I realized that possibly the UPLB Center for Strategic Planning was not given a chance to speak because the person who spoke for DOST was Attorney Valino. Are the UPLB people here? Ms. Collado, you're here? Yeah, can you come forward, ma'am? Sir, sorry. Clarence Collado, Technical Assistant Von Malabrigo, are you here? Yeah, please, you can take a seat here. Yeah, just to complete, no, and take advantage of your presence. Could you? We'll acknowledge you after we've after ESCA, no. But prepare na lang your comment, please. So ESCA, Dr. De Castro, and CEO Jean De Castro.
Sir, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Morning po.
I'm
Morning ho.
Dr.
Yeah,
Castro.
go ahead, sir.
I'm the president of ESCA Engineering, and with me is my daughter.
Tell us a little bit about your company and the extent of your participation in government procurements and transactions, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Senator Gatchalian. ESCA Engineering has been in the engineering business for more than 45 years, and we have had our share of doing many government infrastructure projects. One of the first one was the Department of Finance building, which was long time ago and still survives up to date, among others. No, and of course, my claim to is that I'm the structural engineer of the biggest mall in the building in Asia, which is the SM Mall, at about 400,000 square meters of space. Yeah, but anyway, thank you for inviting us, and we have some comments about the Procurement Act, and of course, while I represent the private sector, we are the private practice, of course. We are also. I'm the vice president of SECOFIL. SECOFIL is the member of the FIDIC. FIDIC is the International Engineering Federation of Engineers, Consulting Engineers, and we have been members of that organization for 47 years already, which recognizes the best engineering practices all over the world. No? And if I would like to go to the point directly, FIDIC, for example, recognizes only quality-based selection. In other words, cost is not a matter that should be considered in the procurement of professional consulting services. It must be totally qualifications, and based on that qualification, you negotiate the fees. Now, the fees, of course, will be determined by the agency, and the agency should be well prepared to know what is the best fee. No? We believe that the professional organization services is not a commodity. No? There's public safety involved here. There's a lot of things that should be considered: public safety, economy, sustainability, and it can only be provided with the choice of the best consultants, and that's the reason why the International Engineering Federation recommends only the selection through quality-based qualification. This is not singly the practice of international engineering, but also many other countries like the United States, federated countries, they normally select by quality-based. No? In many situations where cost comes in, the fees that the points that they give to cost is only very, very minimal. No, it should not affect the well, we have done here our experience here in the Philippines is that Filipino consultants, in order to win the project, will always bring down their price to the lowest. No, if 30% is the points that you give to the lowest bidder, they have already an advantage of 30% to win the award. No, and that is really affects the project very much because uh, you cannot provide the best services if your fees that you provide for the projects are very, very little. No, we have a lot of comments also about the qualification requirements in many government agencies, where most of the time they require performance of manpower, man-months, instead of the output base. In other words, it's not the quality of the output performance that they're measuring, but it's in the number of people that you can put into the project. And many, many agencies are very, very strict with that. No, if you have if you have a consultant assigned on a project already existing, that consultant is no longer available for you to another project, even if that consultant is only used for a few months for that particular project. There are many small things like that, but I think we would like to address that, and I would like that the Secofil, the organization which will Secofil would like to be invited and participate in making comments or giving position papers to the.
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. Please submit your position paper.
Okay. Then during the conversation, you talked about the number of days from pre-qualification to procurement. No, you can talk about 26 days. You can talk about 30 days. No, but the number of days is really depending on the quality of the contract documents that you have. If you have bid documents that are very poor, prepared by consultants that are very poor, the quality of the bids that you get will be very, very poor. A lot of them will be guessworks. A lot of them will be questions. A lot of them will be change orders. Because many of the information that is in the contract documents are not there. No, it's currently, and this is unfortunately where the Philippines is very much behind. Many countries are already procuring their infrastructure projects requiring BIM, or building information modeling. That is already required in many countries, but not in the Philippines. No, if you talk about Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, and many of the advanced countries already require that all the bid documents must be already digitized. No, but and submissions must be digitized. No, and we have to start that requirement that the BIM, or building information modeling, be already required in the procurement process. No, now during the construction process, there's also the technology which we call project information model, and we should require the bidders or the contractors to present that model already. No, now earlier we talked already about life cycle cost. It is very important, sir, because the procurement cost of an infrastructure will cost only about 5 to 10% of the total life cycle cost. 85% of that will be in the operations and maintenance of the project. So that performance requirement during the design and construction must be such that the what will be delivered can be operated efficiently and better, because they had been designed properly. No? So in other words, even during the procurement process, those that will use the facility, those who are going to maintain the facilities, are already part of the procurement process. That is what we call, during the construction, we call that the project information model. At the end of the delivery project by the contractor, most countries already require what they call the asset information model. And this is all part of what we call model-based project delivery already. No? And this is part of digitalization. But I think it would be ideal if we can already include in the Procurement Act the digitalization, the digitized requirement for project delivery, which is already practiced in many countries. Well, we had been in the practice of engineering with private and government projects, and one of our problems in government project when we are project managers is that for reasons not our own fault, our project management fee is fixed. No? For example, if we propose for a project which is 24 months and that project became 36 or 48 months, by law, we cannot be paid for services for the same scope, even if the extension was not our problem. That's, I think, a very, very basic problem that we have to correct. The other problems that we have is the very non-standard requirements of many government agency before a consultant is paid for their services. No, I think everybody knows already how the DOTR has not been paying their consultants for months and months. That is in the stock already. Now, we don't know what is the reason, but consultants can only continue their services if they are properly paid. No? In our case, we have had so many cases where different government agencies has different requirements for the consultants to be paid. Our last example was when we have delivered all our services, but then the agency would like to look at the timesheet of our consultants before they are paid. Now, so, if those are not in the original bid documents, but in the bid documents it says there, and any other document that the agency may require, then those are specific problems that we have now. Mr. Chair, I believe that we have to protect our consultants now. We, for example, we are advanced in our technology because we're using BIM, we're using project information management system, we're producing asset modeling, but these are not being recognized by the government. No? We suggest that those who have capabilities in this area be given additional incentives or additional points to be more qualified, to be given more projects, because we are practicing this compared to those who are not. No? Many countries are doing this, Mr. Chair, no? Where if you are introducing innovation, you're introducing technology, they're willing to pay more. We believe in technology because that is where we have provided the solutions to many of the issues, and with the use of engineering technology. We are proud, for example, Mr. Chair, when we partner with the consultant who designed the Senate building for you. We were the consultants. For some reason, you have a terms of reference that says the winners of the design cannot be part of the design build. So we were automatically out in providing additional services for that particular project. Now, I see some reason in maybe if you're the designer, you cannot be the project manager, but those things are not should not be in stone, Your Honor, because technology, for example, if I may express what is building information modeling. Building information modeling is a digitized twin representation of the facility. It is digitized. It's very, very transparent. You see everything. You see the lights. You see and if you use the technology, you can specify even the specification for that. No, the lumens, or the brand, or you can do that. But it's up to you on how to use that. But technology can make it very, very transparent already. So we have to prefer more those who are that can provide this kind of technology instead of preventing those who have the capability from participating because of some requirements that I think is really updated. Mr. Chair, I think the technology nowadays is is automates a lot of things. It gives us a lot of information, and we can find out what, for example, in our practice, what we have is what we call a common data environment. Well, all the information in the project is in a single file. It's one source of information. There's no duplicate, there's no copy. You will be using a file that was yesterday because it was already updated. This is already available. And I believe that we can improve, or we can even jumpstart our neighbors if we include in our procurement processes the requirement that we should take advantage, or what they call this, incentivize those that can provide the use of technology in our project delivery, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a question. What is the benefit of having it digitized? The building information modeling. What's the tangible benefit of that to the public?
Well, everything, it's when it's digitized, it's visual. You can actually see the model, no? If you since digital, you can do a lot with that model. You can see, for example, all the surfaces. You can see, you can actually push a button, and you can actually give you the quantities, the volume of concrete, the volume of steel, the volume of materials, the amount of surfaces for paint. All the information can be extracted if you have a digital model. And this is actually perfect for a bidding because you have very, very transparent information. You have a basis by which to compare what is the proposal. In fact, that is really how we would like to practice it, Your Honor. No? Before a contract is started for construction, we should have what we call the base model, where everything has been checked, coordinated, and approved, visualized, and checked, and punch list by everybody already, because you can see this is what you are going to get. This is a digital model, and since it's a digital model, you can extract a lot of information, you can put in a lot of information, and the information is available 24/7 to anybody who's given the access to that model.
Does it add to the cost of the project?
Well, definitely, Your Honor, no? The licenses for what you call BIM software is actually very, very expensive, no? And this is the reason why many Filipinos or many consultants will probably object to requiring this kind. But it is happening, Your Honor. No? It is something like CAD, no? Computer-aided design. Previously, it was very expensive to have, but ultimately everybody had to go CAD. You cannot do your engineering work anymore without computer-aided drawings, no? And this is also what's going to happen in BIM, no? And unless we as Filipinos, as consultants, upgrade ourselves, improve ourselves, upskill ourselves to the digital practice, we will be still very, very much left behind by our neighbors. No? Our neighbors are also building digital cities, smart cities. Our neighbors are also coming up with the digital information overground and underground of their facilities, because it's making them very efficient. And I think we should start now. No? Singapore is very much ahead of this because approval of any permit, everything must be submitted through the BIM process protocol. No? That way, the government has a digitized record of the bid environment, and they have this information that they can use in coming up with their smart cities. So we have to start requiring that the digitized process be used in our procurement. We have heard it already here, Your Honor. See, we have talked about the platform where the inventory of information is there. You can already talk about the platform where the inventory of the digital building roads, bridges are also there. No? And this is going to help our government in our infrastructure development.
Thank you, Dr. De Castro. We'd like to acknowledge the presence of PITC, or Philippine International Trading Corporation President Emmy Perez Chong. Would you like to say anything, ma'am?
Good afternoon po, Your Honor. Would just like to reiterate that one of the prerequisites of getting a procuring agent is the absorptive capacity of the agency. Kasi I believe po that not the back members of of a certain agency is not, it's an ad hoc position only. So kaya din po nagtatagal. So maybe we can be honest about the agency under absorptive capacity with regards to the procuring process. And one more thing is can we include mandatory counter trade, offset, or industrial collaboration program in all our procurement? Because this one is not so known about by many agencies, but I have worked with the National Defense with regards to this program. Ang konsepto po nitong program na to is for a minimum of 50 million pesos, government funds, and imported products. The agency gets 50%, 10% of the 50% of the ABC. So that's additional on the part of the agency. So,
Can you say that again? 10% of what do they get?
Sir, 10% of the 50% of the ABC with a minimum of 50 million. With a minimum of 50 million, sir. Yun ang threshold po, 50 million pesos.
10% of the 50% of the what?
Of the ABC, sir.
ABC.
Apo.
What is ABC?
Yes, yes, sir. So, ang mga beneficiaries po natin na agencies of this counter trade of the PITC is one is the Philippine Army. So, they have contracts with us na nakapag-experience ng counter trade. Another one is PGH, Philippine General Hospital. So, they have CT scan, they have MRIs, na after which meron silang nagiging freebies na training, phaco machine. So if we could include that in our procurement, I think that would be a best way kasi marami po siyang performance on how we perform our counter trade or offset or industrial collaboration. So now we are working with the National Defense with regards to this program, and we have already set MOA with the Philippine Coast Guard and Bureau of Fire for the imported component lang po ito. So kung may imported, let's say, millions naman yung contract. Actually, the DND realized this in 2022 when they spent 200 billion for their modernization. Pero it was not part of the counter trade kasi nung nalaman lang nila,
Not part of the counter
trade, sir.
Counter trade.
Yes.
Could you explain these terms, please?
Sir,
We're not familiar with
Okay,
these
sir.
terms.
The counter trade is that ang concept po kasi nito usually to all is you buy from me, I buy from you. Okay. So in our case po with the EO 120 in 1993, ang concept niya po is we buy imported products based on our requirements using Philippine government money, and then for a minimum of 50 million, pasok na po siya for counter trade. So yung counter trade is they buy something from us as part of export, or they share technology.
Same type of good, or it
doesn't matter.
encompasses several types of goods?
Yes, sir. It encompasses several. And it depends on the agency on what they need. Para po na ma-maximize natin yung pera ng government.
Yeah, okay. So I think maybe you understand it very well, but would you explain it a bit more for the benefit of those who are not familiar with this?
All right.
What are the benefits of counter trade and offset?
Sure. Kasi sir, now, before it was counter trade, but then it evolved into offset. So parang bibili ka sa, let's say for instance, this is a classic example that they forgot to incorporate counter trade. The Philippine Navy had a Korean vessel, so Korea made siya. And then, ang supposedly, when they realized that pwede siyang pasukan ng counter trade or offset, now kasi sir, it's industrial collaboration. When you say industrial collaboration, we can have foreign investors here in the country. Medyo, paano ba? Mahaba kasi sir yung process or long term. But the very essence is that we get something out of what we have bought na imported. So
Say that again, please.
we get something out of what we bought na imported, which is in the value of 10% of the 50% of the contract price.
May buy one, take one ka, parang ganon.
Para sir
Buy
freebie.
five, take one.
Opo, parang may freebie siya, sir.
Okay. Basically, that's what you're saying.
Yes, yes, sir.
Oo.
Yes, sir.
And you're saying that's not taken into account in under current law.
Yes, sir.
So, but we have this concept, ano yung tawag na concept na you're looking at the totality of the value you're getting rather than the lowest bid, di ba? What you call that concept?
The most economically advantageous.
Most economically advantageous. Pag
Introduced
yun
here
ang
in this
pasok na yun, di ba? Because that looks at the entirety of what you're getting, I suppose, di ba?
Pwede po. But Mr. Chair, yung
Yeah.
pong understanding po namin, PD 252, the Presidential Decree creating the PITC as amended by PD 1071, looks at counter trading at the time when there's like parang nawawala ho yung dolyar ng Pilipinas eh.
Yeah, I was thinking of that also. It's a
That's
time
right.
of scarce foreign
That's right,
reserves.
Mr. Chair. So, nangyari po noon, pag meron tayong gagastusin na dolyar, yung pong
Tipid tayo ng dolyar, di ba?
That's
Ayaw
right,
natin
because-
paglabas ng dolyar.
That's correct, Mr. Chair, because our money is based on dollar reserves, na as opposed to gold before. So, ang nangyari po nun, pag bibilin po tayo at dolyar ang bayad, yung pagbibilan po natin, dapat mag-introduce din siya sa atin ng mga either produkto, industry, investments, na will be provided ng dollar back sa atin. Flow in, flow out po, ganun ang idea. So, it's more of a trade tool, Mr. Chair. That's why our good
Yeah,
chairperson mentioned.
actually, sir, you're right. It's actually a trade tool. But for agencies with like the Philippine General Hospital, they are aware that they have counter trade. And I am very proud to say naman, even if I came into PITC only in 2020, late 2021, they are also following up their counter trade performance.
Does it work in the case of PGH?
Sir, kunyari, they bought, this is not kunyari, this is real. They bought MRI, they bought CT scan, let's say in amount of, now they have a PAX machine. So this one I can relate because it's in my time. They acquired a PAX machine, which is a remote X-ray that they can read online the X-ray results of the patients. And with this, they have a counter trade performance of, it's a 99 million project. So divided by 2, they will give PGH an additional 10% of the half of 99. So it depends on PGH on how they want it to be. So yun lang
The
yung...
problem with the add-ons is how do you know it's really what you need, di ba? Baka it's something that the supplier just wants to dispose of, di ba? Like
As-
many add-ons in a commercial transaction. It's
Oh, yeah.
not what you need. Ito, may dagdag kang ganito, di ba? Parang,
But sir, it doesn't affect the ABC. So parang hindi siya...
you're saying on the one hand, you want it to affect the APC. You want it to be considered in the consideration of the bid. But on the other hand, you're saying it's not part of the APC. So parang, hindi ba contradictory yun?
No, sir, because sometimes ang isip natin, there's no freebies. But
Yeah.
actually, there are freebies. And they will say it, ay, hindi, kasama to sa babayaran mo.
Okay.
Because there is a global association who practices this collaboration program. And ang talaga pong tinatarget
Yeah,
nila
but
is
how
the
do you know if
defense.
that freebie is needed, di ba? In some cases, it can be needed, but in some cases, it might not be needed.
Yes,
And
sir.
you want it to be considered in the value, but actually, it's not. Kasi kung kinakailangan yun, then the government would have included it in its original bid document, di ba? Am I right, Yusek, Director?
That's right, Mr. Chair. And also, maganda po yung idea, Mr. Chair, ng counter trade really. That's why I mentioned earlier, it's a trade tool. But of course, there are different views also. Like for example, bibigyan nga kita, pero yung nagbibigay naman isa yung supplier, itatak in niya yun dun sa bid mo. So parang, at the end of the day, parang wala siyang binigay sa'yo kasi nakatak in dun sa iba. But then, of course, there are strategies, Mr. Chair, to capture that. So I believe the expertise belongs to IPC.
Yeah, it's not usually na ganun naman, sir. Because as the agency also can donate it to another agency, government
How do
agency.
you meet that need that it's really something needed by the agency?
The
That
agency,
it's demand-driven rather than supply-driven.
opo, normally the agency identifies it. among themselves. Tapos they have a 3-year period kasi to perform that. It's not naman yung right away you have to perform it. So in the course of the 3 years, they could have identified already what they need, and they will have, it's always the prerogative of the agency to identify what they need. Pero syempre, sir, hindi naman yung sobrang laki. There's always a specific value for each performance that the supplier will do. Isa nga, sir, as a trade tool, before it was being used to promote export. So wala siya, hindi siya cost-driven to the end of the supplier. So kung nyari galing akong Korea, and then the Philippines will push for an export of goods to Korea. So those things that we have to consider, and medyo, ano sir, kasi medyo complicated to explain. You cannot really explain in one sitting, but it's something to that effect.
Consult na lang with you para...
Thank you,
we can-
sir.
Yes, Senator Win.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on that note, do you have concrete examples of that counter trade concept in the past? For example, how many government agencies have actually took advantage of that counter trade, and what concrete benefits? Because the way I was listening to the chairman, the freebies is different than counter trade. Now, freebies are freebies, parang bonus lang yun eh. Counter trade, I would assume, is more for G2G transactions because there's no cash out going in and coming in, going out and coming in. So, that counter trade example that you made, cite some examples recently or in the past that took advantage of this.
Actually, in the records of PITC, it started in 1989. So up to 2020, recently ang naging training po is the Red Dot in Korea. So that is just like September or August of 2023. Ang naabutan ko, sir, na counter trade is also the building in somewhere sa south with regards to...
Give us the most recent counter trade transaction and the benefit to the Filipino people, to put it simply.
Okay, so can I just pass the mic on my OIC for procurement? She's more... Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may share.
Yeah, please
I'm
identify
with the
yourself.
Procurement
and,
Outsourcing Services Group. My client is Philippine Army, no? They bought ammunition. Most of the ammunition of the Philippine Army are imported. Now, the counter trade performance of the supplier, they donated RPG, which the Philippine Army used this during the Marawi siege.
It's a supplier, private or government?
A private pool.
Private, okay.
And then it was bidded out and then awarded po yung project. And then after that po, nag-donate po sila ng RPG, no? Actually, ang process po nun, sir, so may contract amount po, ano? So on top of that contract amount, the suppliers will perform counter trade, no? And then the client po will provide wish list of the items that they want to donate, the supplier to donate, no? So bibigay po namin yun sa supplier, and then they will choose ano po yung pwede nilang i-provide. So one of which was the RPG po na they used during the Marawi siege. Another item din po, the 105 millimeter, this was bought from the Spain, no? And then the performance po is computerized plotting equipment. Kasi ang ginagamit po ng mga sundalo natin, manual. So this is an upgrade of the capability of the Philippine Army. So po yung nakikita po namin benefit of the counter trade dun sa mga procurement because this will be added value to their procurement requirements.
Why is it called counter trade? Why is it not simply called bonus or freebies?
Sir,
Where's the count? I'm trying to see the counter trade.
Sir, actually, there's a lot of...
Counter trade nga.
Actually, sir...
So I'm trying to figure out where the counter trade there is eh.
Actually, sir...
Parang in my understanding, it's a bonus.
Yes and win kasi yung example ng counter trade that director also discussed is parang as a tool of industrial policy. You promote your domestic industries, your domestic products. So as a condition of or a precondition of buying or a purchase, bumili rin kayo ng amin. In this case, tama si Senwin, asan yung counter trade dyan?
Oh, actually, sir, to inform everyone, it started as counter trade and then magdaging offset. And the recent name now is industrial collaboration.
It's no longer
program.
counter trade, kumbaga. There is no counter. It's one way only.
Opo, but it's the evolution of the term.
It's a different, totally different, actually you look at it, it encompasses a totally different concept. Counter trade is, your trade is two ways. Diba? You're sending products both ways. And
Yes,
you're
sir.
paying both ways. But in this case, you're only, it's only one way. You're only paying one country or one company is a supplier, one is a buyer. Tama ba?
Yes, sir. Maybe the better term is industrial collaboration.
Kaya
program.
nalilito kami actually because first of all, these are new concepts and secondly, they seem counterintuitive, counter trade, pero hindi naman wala namang counter, di ba?
It sounds sophisticated, but at the end of the day, it's just bonus. It's just freebies. No? Nakakuha lang tayo ng freebies. And
Tada, maraming freebie pero hindi mo naman gusto, di ba? Parang bibili ka ng sabon pero yung freebie nila parang, di ba, pulbos, di ba? Parang hindi mo maintindihan yung freebie. So yun ang worry namin, baka yan ang freebie concept ng, di ba? But thank you for clarifying that. Senwin, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, actually my question is to PITC and have you, because we've seen this, no, the chairman and I have seen this in the past that there's this bad tendency of agencies of parking funds to PITC and to GOCCs, no? Including PSDBM pa nga na nakasama doon. But I just want to highlight today the GOCCs and we see this bad tendencies in which, because agencies are graded by obligating and disbursing their funds, no? All of you know that, all of us know that. And to create this scenario that they have utilized their funds, they give it to PITC and then declare to Congress that they have spent all their funds, no? In fact, the chairman recognized that in his proposal SBN 2466, in which that will not be considered disbursed even though you transfer it to another agency. It's specified, but the chairman made that proposal. So my question is, what because I understand that this GOCC's ED also follows the procurement law, correct? So what advantages does it give to the procuring agencies in terms of process, in terms of pricing? Because right now, the only advantage is to clean up their records and say we have utilized our funds. No? But if we're saying that the GOCCs are also following 9184, so what advantages can the GOCCs bring other than the government agencies actually conducts their own procurement? Because right now, the only advantage that we are seeing is it seems that they're utilizing their funds. No? But have we quantified the advantages that PITC brings to the table or GOCCs bring to the table in terms of efficiency, in terms of pricing, other than the freebies? The freebies I think the freebies, even without PITC, freebies can be given. I know that other agencies, like for example, when I was a mayor, we get a lot of freebies. No, bigay sila ng bigay. Yun lang nga, sometimes it's tama si chairman, sometimes it's really useless. No, I think yung mga old inventory binibigay na lang nila. But my basic question is, what have you quantified, let's say, savings that PITC can give to the agencies? For example, can they reduce the time frames? Is it more efficient? Have we quantified that so that we can appreciate that the GOCCs are much more efficient in terms of procurement compared to the actual agencies procuring it?
Go ahead.
Sir, if I may say something.
Yeah, we'll get your answer, but we'll also get the point of view of.
Yeah, when I came into PITC, that was November of 2021. In all honesty, when I talked with the different agencies, head of agencies, the only advantage that we get is we reduce the timeline. Because this is the only thing that a procuring agent like PITC does. kumbaga may department po talaga kami na who's only into bidding. We have our own technical working group. We have kompleto po kami sa staff, and that's the only thing they do. Hindi po like another agency or a regular NGA, or hindi yun ang mandate nila, that it's an ad hoc to them. Sa amin po, yun talaga yung ginagawa, and we lessen the time. But parang,
But there's a cost to that, di ba?
opo, meron
There's a
kami-
cost. It's not for free, di ba? Yeah. So,
But during my time, sir, kasi I cannot really say something much, because the only thing that I can say is that when I arrived, when I came into PITC, the money with us has been reduced a lot because we were able to pay, we were able to return, and everything else was fast. Yun lang po yung kaya ko sabihin during my time.
Have you quantified that? How fast? Because in the procurement law, it's 26 days from start to end.
Sir, the contract implementation, because during my time, there's no bidding at all. So only for the contract implementation, I can say that it was quite fast compared to,
Like what is fast? How do you, I mean, fast, how do you quantify?
let's say, for example, sir,
Give us concrete examples, how fast?
let's say, for example, the PGH PAX RIS system is for, let's say, 150 days or 160 days delivery time. We will be able to deliver in a shorter time, because the fast tracking of papers is different. Unlike before that, there's no one to really follow up. On my end, I'm the one who makes a follow up on the head of the agencies. That's why it's faster.
So you, in other words, you managed to reduce this 26 days in terms of procurement? Because
Sir,
under the law, it's 20.
Sir, that's not procuring, sir. That's not procurement. That's the implementation stage.
Okay, so what did you reduce nga? I'm trying to figure out you said fast. What did you reduce in terms of
Sir,
time frame?
the contract implementation.
So from the time the agencies issue the contract and from the time the supplier delivers the project, delivers the goods, that's the time that you said
Yeah, during my time,
you
sir.
managed to
Opo.
reduce it.
Opo.
But that's a logistical issue, correct? When the time you give the supplier the contract, it's a logistical na. So what we're trying to address here is the procurement side. There are two sides, no?
Yeah,
The
sir.
first step is to procure. The second step is to deliver.
Opo.
The deliver is things that we cannot control because there are logistics there are other things. But I'm trying to understand, appreciate the procurement side because we're talking about procurement here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I cannot say so much, sir, kasi nga wala akong procurement at the time that I came in. So it's not a good idea on me saying na during my time, the procurement was...
As an agency, not only PITC, as an agency.
Oh, they could make it faster than usual. Like,
What's fast nga? No? What's
Uh,
give us a
at least
give us a number.
30 to 45 days, sir.
From the time you issue the contract and from the time you deliver,
Sir, from the time it...
or the procurement
From the
process?
procurement process, sir. From the time it was posted, then it pre-proc, sir, pre-bid, posting, bidding, and then bidding process, and then award. Normally, sir, kasi 26 days yung pinaka-minimum.
26 to
At
100.
100 and something.
Yeah. So you can reduce it to the 26, under the law is 26 to 136.
Apo.
So with PITC, for example, if I'm a government agency, what can how can you make my my procurement more efficient than compared to what I can do? Yun ang I'm trying to appreciate that.
Opo. Because, sir, yung procurement namin, yun nga lang po yung ginagawa ng office. So it's...
Yeah, I know. But how fast nga? No? You keep on saying how fast, but how fast is how fast? Let's quantify it. Let's quantify it.
Sir, that's 30 to 45 days we will be able to deliver the notice of award.
Okay. And as opposed to a typical government agency, how long can they?
It can go up to 130 plus days, 132
Okay.
days.
So in other words, maximum of 45 days
Yes,
you
sir.
can procure it already. Okay. And what effect will this happen? Because in the bill of the chairman, it will not be considered disbursed until the GOCC actually disbursed it. No? Because that's let's say, a loophole that a lot of the agencies are taking advantage. And admittedly, a lot of the agencies take advantage of this, no? Because they're graded at the end of the day, at the end of the year, on their utilization of funds. No? So what you're saying is, even though with this provision, agencies will be attracted to you because you can deliver it in 45 days. That's the selling point.
Yes, sir.
Have you quantified the amounts? For example, are you cheaper compared to the actual agencies buying it? Of course, the freebies, we like the freebies, no? But in terms of the pricing, is PITC cheaper compared to the actual agencies buying it?
There is an additional service fee, sir.
3%, diba?
Sir, no, it varies from 1 to 4%.
1 to
It's not
4%.
fixed at 3%. So it
Okay.
depends on the value.
Oh, okay lang. For example, me, I'm willing to pay 1 to 4% as long as I can get a savings of 20% from if I buy it myself. Do you have that type of study?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you have that type of study that it's cheaper to transfer funds with PITC compared to I personally buying it as an agency?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. By OIC for procurement can very well answer
Yeah,
it, sir.
can you share with us your experience?
Yes, sir. If I may, sir, no?
Yeah, go ahead.
The ABC that the client provides to PITC po, yun po ang ginagamit namin, less the service fee, no? Now, when we post it, sir, and award it, meron pa po kaming nage-generate na residuals because PITC po, being an international company, we always make it a point to invite manufacturers for high volume, big ticket items, sir. So nagkakaroon po kami ng residuals for the client, no? Yun po yun, sir. Yun ang practice po ng PITC. We propose to the client to invite manufacturers instead of traders.
How much is on the average, how much savings can you generate from the ABC para to be
I don't have figures right now.
More or
sir.
less.
More or less 10%.
10%? But we need
Kasi
to pay
as much as possible po, at the end of the day, sir, meron kaming residuals eh.
Okay, and then the agency needs to pay 4%.
Yes.
So about 6% savings.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then on top of that, it's shorter by almost half the prescribed time.
Yeah.
Well, actually, more than half, no? About a third, no? Of the prescribed time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's what I want to understand. Just submit to us, to the committee, an analysis, for example, of how much have you saved, you know, and how much the time frame that you have saved as compared to the actual agencies buying it.
Okay.
Because a case can be made that maybe bigay na lang lahat natin sa PATC. Wag na tayong mag-back. Wag na mag-back yung agency. AD, pwede ba yun? They can save us 10%. They're almost 70% faster. So there's a case to be made that PATC is much more efficient than the back itself. What do you, ano nyo? Of course, I'm talking about extremes. That's not going to happen. No? I'm just talking about extremes. But want to exaggerate the matters.
If I may, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Addition, sir. Actually, sir, PITC po has been in procurement for almost 20 years now, 2003. So we can provide po assistance to our client in terms of their technical requirements, sir. Kasi PITC po has procured several procurement projects for other government agencies, sir. So yun po yung nagiging technical expertise. We assist them in crafting or fixing their technical specs based on the market, sir.
Thank you for that. That's why I submit to us an accomplishment report, especially on savings and efficiency. I think that is a very important feature that PITC can bring to the table. I'll just jump to another topic, to ED Santiago, and these are the realities on the ground that I personally experienced when I was a local chief executive. And the chairman has talked about this earlier. Yung I noticed that when you have bidding, it's race to the bottom. It's really patayan kayo talaga ng presyo. But then again, you're not assured of quality. No? And one of the reasons there is you cannot prescribe brands. You have to put everything in general terms. But we all know that equipment, especially made from developing nations, are not exactly of quality, of high quality. So how can these amendments help your proposals? No, you laid out earlier, but how can we prevent a race to the bottom type of scenario? Because the race to the bottom is not very good for us. No, we end up buying low quality goods and then buying it again the next year, buying it again the next year, as opposed to buying a high quality good that can last us for a very long time. No? So in your proposal, how can we prevent a race to the bottom scenario?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Gatchalian. Yung pong in the proposal po, there is what we call the most economically advantageous tender, wherein you will look at the technical aspect of the project and then you will score it, and then the financial aspect of the project as well. So ngayon ho kasi, what we have under the lowest calculated responsive bid context is that they go to the lowest after the technical compliance has been confirmed. No po. Medyo linawin ko lang ho yung LCRB because this is a model really patterned after our development partner. As a matter of fact, the World Bank, Mr. Chair. Ang konteksto kasi medyo yung terminology lang po kasi. You will look at the technical aspect of the project. Look at compliance first. And then after compliance with the technical aspect, then you look at the price. That's why even in the opening of the bids, if you open the first envelope that contains the eligibility requirement and the technical proposal, using a pass or fail criterion, pag merong dokumento na hiningi or you are compliant with the technical requirements, pass ka. Only the time that you pass, that you go to the Bids and Awards Committee will open the financial document. So doon naman po, titingnan ko ano yung mga financial proposals ng bidders. But necessarily so po, ang hahanapin po talaga naman natin ay yung mababa. But that is against a very good technical specifications. That's where planning comes in, Mr. Chair. That's why even in this proposal, Mr. Chair, we recognize the GPPB and the Technical Support Office recognize the weakness in the planning process of procuring entities, Mr. Chair. That's why there are proposals on strategic planning, budget and planning linkage. So that to address that po, ano. Then another one is ito pong most economically advantageous tender nga po, ano. This is not a new idea because we are using this already in the procurement of consulting services, ano po. And as mentioned earlier by Dr. De Castro, sabi niya nga po, QBE lang sana or quality-based evaluation as opposed to quality and cost-based evaluation. In both, Mr. Chair, you have scoring. You have scoring mechanisms. You score the technical aspect of the project and you also score the financial aspect. Only that in the QBE, as mentioned, hindi ho tinitingnan muna yung price, ang i-scorean muna yung technical because you really want to get the best consultant that you have there, you know, in the premise. So ang mangyayari po nun, kung sino yung highest technically rated, then kukunin mo yung presyo niya. If the price is within the ABC, you negotiate on the price kung pwede pang babaan or hindi, magdagdag pa ba ng tao or ng experts o hindi. Kung hindi naman po, then they will have to agree. Eh na po, parang ganito rin ho yung mangyayari sa atin ngayon doon sa goods and civil works procurement if we use yung pong most economically advantageous tender. Meron pong percentage po rating yung technical at meron percentage rating yung financial. So ito na po, hindi na ho kayo titingin lamang doon sa lowest na sinasabi natin kanina, but you'll also have to look at both the technical and the financial aspect of the proposition.
That's part of the amendments that DBM wants to propose.
That's right, Mr. Chair, supported po by Mr. Chair.
So, and that will cure that race to the bottom scenario wherein quality will now be given much more weight compared to price.
What we have on the percentage, Mr. Chair, now is 60-40, 70-30, 80-20. Ibig sabihin po, 80, laging mataas ho yung technical. 60 doon sa technical, 80 or 70 sa technical. Yung presyo, mas mababa lang po. So that will we believe that will address also that race to the bottom concept, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
But in the international arena, Mr. Chair, you have
Can I just clarify with your permission, Senwin? Yung 80-20, sorry, ano yung presyo doon? Sa 80 o sa 20?
20 po.
20 na lang si presyo.
Pero depende po.
80 na si qualitative.
Apo, Mr. Chair, but depende po yun dun sa needs ng procuring entity because at times, kailangan din naman yung tingnan yung katulad, baka napakamura naman din talaga kahit na natatamaan din.
I think you have to put safeguards there kasi quality is not something, at least yung presyo, that's objective. Quality is always subjective, di ba? So,
Parameters po, Mr. Chair.
yeah. Oh. Justice, yeah. Opo.
Yeah, may I just, I hope you don't mind, Your Honors. Madagdag ko lang po kasi based on experience kaya po. This matter about yung lowest bidder, so maganda po yun, you just adjust na lang yung technical as against the cost. Kaya lang po kung minsan, yun nga yung paulit-ulit na nagda-dive, yun yung usually nakukuha. So baka naman pwede makonsider sa law na pagka yung lowest, if there is yung record niya, yung performance niya, yung deliver niya is not really, really the most economical for the agency, na pwede siyang iban para hindi siya paulit-ulit na sumasali kasi siya yung palagi nagiging lowest bidder eh. So baka naman maipas kasi yung problema, if you do not include that in the law, they will always invoke that as basis to file a case and then will seek relief from our courts. Yun lang po ang na hopefully sometimes practical na siguro considerations. No?
Thank you, Justice. With your permission again, Senwin, one of the provisions kasi of the amendments is the provision against a TRO, and I think that might need the permission of the Judiciary or the Supreme Court, no? So something pag-aralan na lang ho natin, Justice, kung I guess in extreme or cases of grave, pag hindi naman involved yung grave abuse of discretion, because that's something constitutionally guaranteed, di ba? So pag hindi ganun, baka pwede yung provision against TRO. I don't know. Tapos na ba season? Tapos na siya? Hindi pa. Yeah, so in the meantime, we'll hear from Professor Alin Sunurin from UPLB. Also DOST. Baka may, I remember before, I forgot who it was I was talking to from DOST, having difficulties with procurement. Also, I think something about intellectual property and also sa CHED, something to do with their partnerships foreign universities, yung, what's that program with Berkeley? Anyway, sige, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So, from the side of UP Los Baños, we are now currently undertaking a project on the policy reforms towards effective and efficient conduct of public research and development in the Philippines. And one of the issues that we have actually highlighted is the procurement issues that our state universities and colleges and research and development institutions are facing. So we have actually a policy paper, and I think it could also be a good opportunity that maybe we can have a space where we can discuss the issues that public research and development is facing, because we feel that we think that scientific research requires also specialized procurement requirements because it has a different process as well in terms of procuring goods and services over the regular ones. So this is actually a two-part project, and right now we are on the policy advocacy part. And one of the things that we would like to highlight and supporting as well what has been discussed earlier is to look into the Section 53 on negotiated procurement, particularly the Section 53.6, which focuses on the scientific and scholarly and artistic work and exclusive technology and media services. So what we're looking at right now is to provide more clarity on this one, because we are observing underutilization of such provision among state universities and colleges. So if we are allowed as well, we can actually provide a position paper regarding this and supporting as well what has been mentioned by the Department of Science and Technology earlier. And we can also provide some initial findings from our studies on our study regarding the efficient and effective conduct of public R&D in the Philippines. Thank you.
That'd be most welcome, Professor. Please give us that, because we've heard those complaints before, no? Miss Ernilyn Brown of DOST NAST. Ma'am, go ahead. You're the last. Is anyone not given the chance to speak? Any agency? None. So you're the last resource person. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair. I'm representing now the National Academy of Science and Technology. Although we don't have an official position paper yet regarding the matter, this is one of the areas where we're really looking at giving our contributions to. And so we are in close coordination, of course, with the UPLBC PAF team and the DOST and several other studies that have been done regarding the nuances and the special difficulties that the S&T community experiences in terms of procurement. So we will provide an official position paper after the deliberations with our academicians. But
Different. Are you separate organizations or you're both with DOST, di ba?
we are both DOST, but the
Could you come up na lang with one? Is it possible that you just come up with one position paper?
we will talk with the DOST.
Or i-debate nyo pa yung yung position papers ninyo?
Plus, we have a lot of academicians and scientists. They
Hindi kaya nga, alam ko, habit nyo talaga mag-debate. Ganon din kami. Ganon din kami sa Senado. Mahilig din kami mag-debate. Pero for purposes of passing a law, baka pwedeng at your level, you can already sort of consolidate your positions.
Yes, Chair.
And then if there are sticky issues, i-point out nyo na lang sa amin na ito medyo this is still not subject of a consensus. It's something like that.
Yes, definitely with that.
Salamat po. Salamat. Thank you.
Siguro lang, sir, one of the things that we'd like to highlight is the significant challenge in the suppliers for highly technical S&T services and R&D requirements in the Philippines. So although our researchers, especially in the SUCs and RDIs, go through the procurement process, as they go through the process, marami po tayong na-experience ng failed biddings because walang suppliers or limited yung suppliers for especially highly technical equipment or highly technical mga chemicals, reagents, ganyan. For one instance, before I'm currently an S&T fellow at NAS, but I used to be an R&D manager at the OUSEC RD, Office of the Undersecretary for Research and Development. We've had projects that were delayed significantly 1-2 years because there were no suppliers here in the Philippines for the reagent or the biological material that they needed for their research and development. So we'd like to submit our official position later on, consolidated again with the DOST po and the other researches that are already done on the matter. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I have another appointment, so with apologies to this is a continuing dialogue naman. And then we'll be busy with the budget. But during that time, I think we can refer it to a technical working group. So this is a very detailed law, no? So we'll need to flesh out a lot of issues. But we welcome your contributions today, ladies and gentlemen. Maraming pong salamat, particularly kay Director Santiago, who's an expert on this subject, and Justice Raul, and all of the resource persons. Maraming pong salamat sa inyo. We learned a lot today. Thank you. Let's keep the dialogue going forward. Salamat po. Thank you. Thank you, sir.